Ladies and gentlemen, we have a big broadcast lined up for you today with several special guests in studio. We have the full JFK files now released, the final tranche on Saturday night when the president fully delivered. We have Kevin Spacey, who I have always heard from the sources, and of course it's been rumored online for many years, is the big high-powered Hollywood star who reportedly molested people. Well, he's apologized for basically trying to rape a 14-year-old boy that they drug into some adult party that he took back in a bedroom. And, of course, we all know that's the tip of the iceberg. But here's what's really key. Spacey was on the Lolita Express, the big rape wagon with wings that Bill Clinton and others were on. Yeah, that whole house of cards is coming down. That's why the swamp is desperate, and their champion is Mueller. And the president's saying, hey, America, do something. They're the criminals. Here's the report. Trump's in press conferences and tweets saying, man, Hillary got caught paying for the dossier that they got from the conservatives, so-called conservatives, Jeb Bush and others, and putting all the PP-gate stuff in there. The Trump already knows all that. He has all the intelligence. But now, because it's in the news, he's out talking about it. And John McCain's involved as well. Trump calls for prosecution of Democrats after reports of impending indictment in Russian probe. Do something, he says.
Yeah, it's been more than a year. The State Department is holding tens of thousands of documents on a case that they claim is closed. And when I met with Attorney General Sessions, much like Ron DeSantis did, I basically got a stiff arm. I got an Attorney General that said he would not comply. He wasn't going to do any sort of prosecutions. And it's such a huge difference. When he was a senator, he would have never put up with that. But the deep state is very real. They're pushing back.
Oh, but now Mueller's investigating Democrat lobbyist Tony Podesta, says the NBC. They're being forced to do that to make it look like he's impartial. The guy himself is worse than the Podesta brothers and almost as bad as Hillary when it comes to being in bed with Russian companies and transferring uranium in suitcases to them. I mean, wow. Who transfers weapons-grade uranium on tarmacs to the FSB? That's the KGB.
This is about corruption, it's about collusion and potentially treasonous activity. Members of the Obama administration at the cabinet level, as there was an FBI investigation of racketeering on uranium by Russia in America, approved this deal. Hillary Clinton approved a deal that would give 20% of our uranium to a nation like Russia that supports rogue regimes. This is massive, Sean. Absolutely massive.
They want you to be corrupt, then they'll leave you alone. It's why they don't like Trump. He's not corrupt. They don't have any bodies. They don't have any skeletons. They don't have anything to get him.
Everyone is colluding with Russia except Trump. Basically, you've got the Podesta group, you've got the Hillary campaign, you've got the DNC, you've got the FBI, you've got Christopher Steele, who you credit as an ex-MI6 agent. He's not just any old ex-MI6 agent. He's the head of the Russia desk at MI6.
Trump calls for prosecution of Democrats after reports of impending indictments in Russia probe. Do something, he says. Never seen such Republican anger and unity as I have concern. The lack of investigation on Clinton made fake dossier. Now $12 million. Yeah, that's what they paid for somebody to make up that Trump got pissed on, excuse me. Trump demands Republicans do something in Twitter meltdown. No, you have Robert Mueller, literally so in bed with the Russians, so paid off, so bought off. That's what globalism is, just selling your country out. I mean, there's 100 times to sell out to China, but it doesn't make the Russian stuff okay. But what do you think the Russians are going to do when we've got people running the country literally selling the nation off? That's what globalists and leftists are. They tell us they hate America because to sell the country out, you got to hate it. The Mexicans, led by the dictator Santa Anna, had a Pyrrhic victory back in 1836 in a place called San Antonio. at a makeshift fort called the Alamo. They killed everybody inside the building in a 3-day battle. But then they lost the war. And I can guarantee you, looking into the historical ramifications of what's happening right now, that even if the globalists are able to kill Trump or remove Trump or kill me or remove myself, Matt Drudge, the few folks out there fighting, the people are awake, and you can be absolutely assured that globalism will fall. Globalism is failing. It's dead on arrival. It's falling apart faster than we thought. All over Europe, all over Latin America, all over Asia, even in areas of Africa, people understand globalism is a new form of corporate colonialism, playing the nation states off against each other. So that's the incredible news here. But I got to be honest with you. It is disgusting. It is depressing. It is infuriating. It is enraging. It is nauseating to know all about Russiagate and to know that the Democratic Party, the entire leadership of it, everyone you investigate is deep in with the communist Chinese, the Russians, the globalists, selling the country out. That's what they do. That's their religion. That's their operation. It's why they hate the country. You got to hate something you're willing to destroy. It's a prerequisite. So what they're doing now is projecting onto Trump and the Make America Great Again movement that's got the dollar up, the stock market up, thousands of companies coming back, jobless numbers the lowest they've been now since 1984. I mean, the numbers are coming in, and the globalists are trying to kill tax cuts. They're trying to kill making our country more competitive again, where our corporate tax is at least even with China, not 15% for China, 40% for us. The globalists have become rulers of the world to a great extent, off of our labor, off of our work, off of our backs. And we've got a president who is simply not out to get the country. And these scumbags, these swamp creatures, and their swamp king, Mueller, believe they can overturn a duly elected president with their fraud. And to see them when Mueller is involved with all these Russian companies in incredible corruption on its face and in tarmac uranium transfers and so much more, it makes you ask your question, how on earth are they even trying to get away with this? But here's the good news. They didn't get away with trying to steal the primaries from Trump. They didn't get away with trying to keep him from getting the nomination. They didn't get away with trying to have the electors be faithless and then not seat him as the president on January 21st. They failed. And with every passing day they don't get Trump out of office, our victory becomes that much more accelerated. It's already assured. This is an incredible time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. A truly amazing time to be alive and to be witnessing all of this unfolding. And so everything you're seeing are desperation acts to cover up the crimes that they've committed. You notice that they were going to wait at least a few weeks longer for these Manafort indictments that we broke exclusively yesterday. We actually broke it on Friday, but we gave the names, not just to Manafort, but others on Saturday and then on Sunday here exclusively. But all of this is being done because it all came out last week, what we already knew about Fusion, GPS, and the fake PP Gate and the Uranium One deals and the payoffs and the lying to Congress and all the rest of it. So what are they going to do when they've been illegally leaking, when the FBI has been involved in all these crimes, when Mueller and Comey killed the investigations into Uranium One back 7-8 years ago? What are they going to do? They're going to go for broke and try to take Trump and this American resurgence out. That's all they can do. So they're fighting like men fighting for their lives because they are. And the arrogance you see from them is a cloak they wear for how precarious and how weak their position is even in this current fight, which they're 5-to-1 chances they're going to lose this. But if they win it, it's a Pyrrhic victory, dyed in the wool, textbook, Encyclopedia Britannica, Webster's Dictionary definition. Just look around you everywhere. They're losing the culture war in a complete realignment. Globally, a mega event has taken place, and nothing will put their fraud back up on the horse again. That said, it's going to be a tough road, but people are striking back. We strategically, during the campaign last year, began to expose the pedophile rings that the Clintons and others are involved with. We took the hit. We put it all out there first, the spirit cooking, you name it. Knowing that would give witnesses courage to start coming forward and give law enforcement courage to move. Once we got Trump in, who we knew wanted to go after him, another green light was put out there so the real battle could begin between the different deep states, the American people in America and the globalists and their deep state. That's now happening. And we've told you, and we've had articles up on Infowars.com, that reportedly one of the kingpins of this in Hollywood is the darling of the left, Kevin Spacey. He's now apologized for dragging a 14-year-old boy into a room trying to have sex with him. Ladies and gentlemen, what are grown men doing with 14-year-olds at their male parties? Now, the media spun this that, oh, he admits he's gay. He's come out of the closet. Well, that's like telling me that a walrus, you know, has a big, long tusk or lives in the northern Atlantic Ocean. Or that birds fly in the sky. They change the subject. Oh, he's come out, he's gay. Oh, they think that'll obscure things. Oh, Kevin Spacey's gay? We didn't know that. How about the word is he's a pedophile as well that likes young boys. Just like the deputy pope who just got arrested. And so the empire is on the run, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the march, and we told you this is all coming. So here's how this works for the globalist. Every day, they try to bring the republic down. More of your operatives are going to get burned in your cult. And by the way, you know you're fighting for your lives because we're not going to stop. But everybody knows it's got to be accelerated now as quickly as possible. So you want to fight, you're in the arena with us. You got your sword and your short sword out, so do we, and we're just going to town, and the fight's on. And if you look at yourself, you're bleeding a lot worse than we are. And politically, when we're done, ear to ear, swords going through. So understand that. Another one up under the throat to the top of the head. There's going to be a nice Christian cross with swords sticking out of your political carcass when we're done with you. And you need to understand that. A lot of us may not make it through what's about to happen, but this is the great animating contest of liberty. This is the tree of liberty. This is what it's all about. This is what people should beg on their knees before God to be part of. Because historically, it's all happening right now. The pedophile networks are coming down. The international espionage networks set up where they, quote, do it legally through globalism, selling out the nation state, looting the taxpayer, engaging in social warfare operations to dumb the populations down. All of that's being drug out in the open. And the globalists now are seeing the light of day, and they're panicking because they don't like the light. This is an incredible time to be alive, and I'm extremely honored to be here with you as all this begins to unfold. But they're going to try to use distractions of, oh, he's gay, or, oh, guys hit on women in Hollywood, and make that the crime. The diversion of, oh, he's gay, so everything's okay if he likes little boys. And, oh, look, men, Adam Sandler got seen patting a woman on the knee. Oh, my God, it's rape. They're going to try to throw up all this smoke screen because the rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than just 14-year-olds getting drug into bedrooms so Kevin Spacey can try to have sex with them. It goes down to little kids, little babies, and it, of course, ends with human sacrifice. Stay with us. Coming up, Roger Stone, former business partners with Paul Manafort, will give us the exclusive intel on the latest shoes to drop because Mueller's eyeing to indict more people associated with Trump for crooked toenails, not filling out tax forms right 10 years ago, you name it, because they have to create the illusion that Trump, again, was on the Russian payroll. But notice, we're talking about stuff years ago that Manafort was doing in major campaigns with pro-Western candidates that it turns out Podesta was involved with as well, and it has nothing to do with the president, nothing to do with Russia. But they're interviewing the renters at Trump Towers around the world They're interviewing members of his golf course clubs by the thousands. Pure harassment. And then I guess just seeing who they can indict for a bounce check 5 years ago. This is beyond any witch hunt ever seen, and it's being done by Robert Mueller that killed the investigations, along with Comey, into the Clintons and Uranium One, with FBI informants with photos, videos, and documents with hundreds of millions of dollars being transferred to them. Wow. And President Trump rightly has come out and started tweeting. He says the uranium to Russia deal, the 33,000 plus deleted emails, the Comey fix, and so much more. Instead, they look at phony Russia-Trump collusion, which doesn't exist. The Dems are using this terrible and bad for our country witch hunt for evil politics. But the Republicans are now fighting back like never before. There is so much guilt by the Democrats, Clinton, and now the facts are pouring out. Do something. All of this Russia talk right now, and the Republicans are making their big push for historic tax cuts and reform. Is this coincidental? Not. And that's it. You have the Federal Reserve trying to sabotage things with interest rate hikes. You've got the big global banks trying to drive down the stock market. I mean, this country is under globalist attack with the communist Chinese backing the whole thing. And Hollywood running around like a rabid dog. Report out of the Obama campaigns paid $972,000 to Fusion GPS, but have testified they paid nothing. The firm also got $12 million from the DNC, but nobody knows who okayed it. Sorry, but this is years ago before Manafort was part of the Trump campaign. But why aren't Crooked Hillary and the Dems the focus? Also, there is no collusion. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, we've always heard that Kevin Spacey is the leader of the gay mafia. And there's been folks that are gay in Hollywood that have talked about getting jobs, getting parts. It's not just about having sex with these folks. It's that you have to be in the in club. It's like a clique, or the cool guys in school. And that's why the media focuses on the heterosexual club so much, because that's not even the dominant club in Hollywood. And that's now coming out. But the media will spin it that people are going after Kevin Spacey because he came out as gay today. Why'd he come out as a homosexual? I'm a heterosexual. We're going to use the scientific term here. We're not going to follow the politically correct words anymore. Why? Why, ladies and gentlemen, did they do this? As a smokescreen. Here it is. Kevin Spacey apologizes to Anthony Rapp. Comes out. And, of course, Anthony Rapp has just had the courage to talk about what happened over decades ago, because, folks, the word is Spacey's already been implicated, and we're only hours away from more people coming forward. Just like we heard with Harvey Weinstein, it wasn't just full-grown women, it was 16, 17-year-olds. Now that's coming out. And it wasn't just groping, it was raping, and now that's coming out. And, of course, Kevin Spacey was just acting while he was inebriated. Well, that's what we're hearing. I wonder when the other cases come out if it's just acting out while you're inebriated. Is it okay if Weinstein was inebriated? And these are the groups always moralizing to flyover country and telling us how bad it is to be Christian, or how bad it is to be conservative, or you know how bad it is to want traditional values. And but they want to run the Department of Education, and they want to sexualize children to make them tolerant. And Salon Magazine says, no, we like pedophiles. And New York Times says, leave pedophiles alone. And the UN says, let's legalize it down to age 13. That's what it's all about, is these people doing whatever they want. And there are homosexual monsters, heterosexual monsters. But when you go after young people, you're called a pedophile. And when you go after young people to sexualize them, you're called a corrupter. And that's why the big movie's coming out that they've tried to suppress that exposes all of this, the open secret. And that's why we've linked to it, and Drudge has linked to it, and everybody else should link to it and promote it. It's free online so people can understand what's really going on and how Hollywood has hundreds of convicted high-level pedophiles who get hired again to work on children's sets at Nickelodeon, Viacom, Disney. It's incredible. And I told you, It's all coming down. It's because Trump and the nationalist movement has been the catalyst to begin bringing this down. And what we've got on screen right there is the trailer for it, but the full film is online. At Infowars.com, that's where you go, and you can see the open secret for free. Just type that in for free, and you'll find the link and get it out to everybody. So, media downplays Kevin Spacey child molestation allegation, focuses on sexuality in the headlines. Actor Kevin Spacey declares he lives life as a gay man. Why is this just breaking now? So using tolerance as a shield for a party he admits he drug a 14-year-old into and threw her on the bed and tried to have sex with, reportedly. Kevin Spacey announced Sunday night that he will live as a gay man. Oh, we really couldn't tell in some of the movies you played when it was so natural. I mean, give us a break. Now this is being used as a distraction. And just remember that. Everything they accuse us of, they've been doing in triplicate, and they've been operating like they've been above the law for 50, 60 years, the globalists have. The sources of corruption and filth in D.C., in New York, in L.A., and I'm not saying everybody in New York or L.A. or D.C. is a bad person. I'm saying the arrogant culture of the corrupt elites, looking at everybody else as animals, has been out of control, and now equilibrium's coming back. The pendulum is now swinging back. And at first, when the pendulum is going the other direction, it slows down, it stops. And a couple of years ago, the pendulum swinging towards anarchy, Satanism, pedophilia, devil worship, total corruption had swung all the way towards the reckless left. And now it's beginning to swing back, and it starts swinging faster and faster as it goes back the other direction. And all of you that are into this stuff, you got a couple 100-year wait. Historically, things are compressed now, so it might be a 10-year wait. You've got a 100-year, 200-year wait until you hit your peak again of being able to sexualize children in preschool and teach them how to perform fellatio on whatever. So good luck, scum. Your time's coming to an end.
In our front door, Alan Dershowitz, lifelong Democrat, attorney, Harvard Law School professor, and author of Trumped Up. You actually predicted what is happening right now in this book.
Sure, it's all about leverage. They're going after Manafort on something that apparently has nothing to do with Trump. Years ago, his own
like
business.
Tax fraud.
Yeah, but what they're saying to him is, we got you now, and we don't care about that. But if you can tell us something about Trump and the campaign and collusion, we'll give you a get-out-of-jail card free. So it's all about leverage. That's the way prosecutors work.
And Gates lasted a little bit longer, a longtime protege with the same international contacts. And after Manafort was jettisoned, he stayed. Then he went to a super PAC, and then they told him to leave the super PAC. One thing is, the Trump people did move quick to get rid of Manafort as soon as these Eastern European ties came up.
Sure, and that will help Trump distance himself. But Manafort knows where the bodies are buried. He was an intimate. And if anything happened wrong in the campaign, and there's no evidence that anything did, Manafort would know about it. Even if he wasn't directly there, he'd have heard about it. Sure. And so this is an important event for Mueller to try to get leverage over this intimate. You know, the first rule in American crime is if you're going to commit a crime, commit it with somebody more important than you are. So you can turn them in. They can't turn you in, right. And that's what's going to happen. Now, you know, there may be a deal in the works. He may be trying to make a deal with the prosecution. He may be dangling the information so that he wants Trump to pardon him. I don't think Trump's going to pardon him. I think politically that would be, of course, politically that would be difficult. Legally, constitutionally, there'd be no problem in doing it. But Manafort now is the first domino. And what Mueller wants to do is see him as the first domino, the second domino, the third domino, ultimately trying to get to the big domino, that is President
What if Manafort
Trump.
Doesn't have anything on the president?
Then he's
no more Russia collusion? Are we done with this?
And he's going to twist in the wind because if he has nothing to offer, then he's just going to have to defend himself on these financial charges that have nothing to do with Trump. This shows the danger of a special prosecutor.
It certainly does, especially when that special prosecutor 8 years ago was a bagman on the tarmac with the FSB, KGB, giving him weapons-grade uranium samples for then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And then they do a uranium deal for 20 to 30% of our uranium, and now we learn they get hundreds of millions of dollars. And the foundation is totally offshore, billions of dollars in it. Manafort was running the major campaign in Ukraine and directing tens of millions of dollars around paying people with offshore accounts. It's what you do when you're offshore working for another country. It's totally legal. I remember talking to Roger Stone 6 months ago, and he said, I've talked to Manafort, good friend of mine, former business partners, and he said all it might be is like filling out tax forms about offshore businesses. And that's sure enough what it is. That's why I've never gotten offshore accounts to put money so that they're outside of the hands of the government or lawsuits or whatever, even a small amount, when lawyers have tried to get me to, because I've read the regulations. They've written it where they can indict Jesus Christ. They could indict a ham sandwich, folks. They could indict Mountain Air in Colorado as being satanic. I mean, but what's crazy is I've never seen the equivalent of having Hitler preside over the Nuremberg trials after World War II. I mean, you've got the Clintons and the Democrats historically on the payroll of the Russians. And now they're totally on the payroll, totally caught, just like Roger Stone said a year and a half ago here, blaming everybody but them for the Russian collusion, even telling Tucker Carlson, oh, you're probably a Russian agent. You're being paid by Putin. Rand Paul, John McCain said, we know Rand Paul's being paid by Putin. And Rand Paul said, I don't even know how to respond to that. It, of course, was totally untrue. Just like Fusion GPS, that they now we know paid $12+ million for? I mean, I mean, I guess they could have paid a homeless schizophrenic $5 he'd have come up with a story better than this. Roger Stone, former head of the Trump campaign, good friends with Manafort. InfoWars broke the news that it wasn't just Manafort, but it was his assistant and others yesterday. And now the word is they want to go after Flynn as well. This other guy, I guess, did a plea bargain last minute. What is the latest intel that you have for us?
Well, Alex, InfoWars certainly on an incredible roll. It was InfoWars who broke the story of the release of the classified JFK documents. It was InfoWars that broke the story of the identity of the Bush-Rubio Republican money man, Paul Singer, who was the initial funder of the dirty dossier prepared by GPS Fusion. And then yesterday, it was InfoWars that broke the story definitively that it was Paul Manafort and his longtime associate and deputy in the Trump campaign, Rick Gates, who indeed were indicted this morning. I am a little confused. I thought Mueller's investigation pertained to Russian collusion in the 2016 election. These charges seem to have nothing whatsoever to do with that. Looks to me like they charged Manafort with everything but the Lincoln assassination. And I think the play here is clear to the American people. They seek to pressure Paul Manafort to bear false witness against the president, to say, yes, I colluded with the Russians and Donald Trump knew all about it. And that, of course, would be perjury. That would be a lie. And I've known Paul Manafort for over 40 years, almost 50 years. He was an usher in my wedding to my lovely wife, and he was my campaign manager when I ran for Young Republican National Chairman successfully, 1977. We go all the way back to college Republicans in Connecticut. I don't believe he will bear false witness against the president. I believe he will plead not guilty to these charges. But it appears to me that that Mueller seeks to treat this like some kind of a mafia drug case. There I am with Lee Atwater, the late Lee Atwater, and my friend Manafort during the heyday of Black Manafort and Atwater.
And by the way, when it was one of the biggest lobbying firms in D.C., let's be clear here about this. They have accused you of being a Russian agent, a kingpin with no evidence, said that I get my directives and money directly from the Kremlin. Just that is absolutely 100% BS, zero truth in that. But then they, again, accused Rand Paul, Tucker Carlson. This is ridiculous. It's like, which? It's like a Monty Python skit if it wasn't so dangerous.
No, it's neo-McCarthyism. If you're not in favor of thermonuclear war with the Russians over Syria, well, then you're a traitor to the United States. You're not a loyal American. I mean, this is reaching absurd proportions. It's very clear to me what the president needs to do here, Alex, and that is he must insist upon the appointment of a special counsel on the issue of Uranium One. That investigation would have to focus on Mr. Mueller, Mr. Comey, Mr. McCabe, the associate director of the FBI, and Rod Rosenstein, then the U.S. attorney, now the de facto attorney general of the United States. Those gentlemen would have to step down if they were the target of a federal investigation. The president's tweet is exactly right here. There was a presidential candidate in bed with Putin. There was a presidential candidate pocketing millions from Russians close to Putin. But that candidate is Hillary Clinton. And this investigation is focused at the wrong people where there is no crime. In the Uranium One matter, there is most definitely a crime and a cover-up by the by the Obama Justice Department.
And you've got Mueller covering it up. You've got him in bed with the Russians. You've got him as a backman. You've got him getting way more money than Trump's ever gotten from Russians. In fact, Trump's gotten zero. How do they think they can get away with this galactic record conflict of interest? I've never seen a conflict of interest like this. This is comic book level. It'd be like in your divorce case if you were the judge against your spouse. It's just you have to recuse yourself. You have to resign.
Well, what's amazing here, of course, is the role of the Trump Justice Department. Right now, the Trump Justice Department is...
Yeah, let's talk about that, because it was a bunch of Obama holdovers that basically did this whole thing. This is a literal attempted legal coup against the president. When I say legal, I mean by a legal system. It's not legal. It's clear tyranny. We'll be back with Roger Stone. I'm Alex Jones. Well, this is from last night where InfoWars spoiled Mueller's shock indictment. Here it is. We've put out the names exclusively here of who's been indicted, according to our sources, and who is going to be arrested tomorrow and who's been told, don't try to use your passport and don't try to leave the country. Urgent, Paul Manafort and his campaign deputy will be indicted tomorrow morning with a third unidentified person. I am boarding a plane. Deputy Rick Gates is the other deputy. That's Manafort and then Rick Gates. They do not know the charge, and the source does not know, again, the third person. Or then later I learned who the person was, but they don't want that out because they don't want it known because they haven't talked to him. So that's that. Get tomorrow's news today here at InfoWars. That's why they want to shut us down. They do not like it. They don't want you having access to that or you having access to us to give us info in a symbiotic relationship. Roger, it isn't like we're taking a position here to be right. The Democrats are completely in bed with the Russians, the Communist Chinese, everybody else. They found nothing in a year-long investigation. They created a, $13+ million dossier. The Democrats just gave $12,400,000. Obama gave $900,000. The Republicans paid $50,000 to start the thing rolling, and it's just a complete made-up fiction. Now they're going ahead with indictments, and you read this indictment. I've gone over it. You've got the floor here in the next few minutes. Tell us what's happening and what's unfolding and what the next shoe to drop are.
Well, I really think the answer here, Alex, is when are we going to get a Trump Justice Department? Right now, we seem to still have the Obama Justice Department. Rod Rosenstein is the de facto attorney general. He is a liberal Republican from Maryland who was appointed at the recommendation, unbelievably, of Baltimore Democrat Congressman Elijah Cummings. His appointment was pushed by Reince Priebus, the former White House chief of staff, and he is up to his ears as U.S. attorney in the Uranium One matter. But incredibly, the Trump Justice Department is in federal court today arguing against the release of Hillary's emails. The Trump Justice Department needs to launch an investigation, a special counsel, if you will, to look into the matter of Uranium One, where we know that Mr. Mueller, Mr. Comey, Mr. McCabe, the associate director of the FBI, who authorized the use of taxpayer monies to pay Fusion GPS or GPS Fusion for the dirty dossier, and whose wife received a giant infusion of cash to her state Senate campaign from the Clintons, funneled through Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, and then, of course, Rosenstein himself. So it seems to me that we do need a special prosecutor, but not to look into the non-crime of Russian collusion, which is unproven, or for which there's still no evidence, but Uranium One, where there is a very real crime, the cover-up of bribery involving the Russians, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and their foundation.
Now, Roger, separately, we see massive arrest of pedophiles everywhere. We know that's a big part of Hollywood's operation. You've got reports here of top Hollywood star Kevin Spacey apologizing for trying to rape a 14-year-old at some party. They're trying to spin that as him coming out of the closet. Neither you or I, are anti-LBGT, whatever. The point is, I'm not even concerned with what people do in their own lives. But I don't like when children get targeted. And you've got that constellation floating around. You've got the NFL with record low ratings. The seats are empty. Everything they touch is falling apart politically right now. How does that add into the mix of this? Because even if they're able to bring down Trump, which I don't think they'll be able to, it would be a Pyrrhic victory because the public globally is awakening.
Well, and watch the president's tweets. You see, he totally gets it. The focus should not be on the question of Russian collusion in the Trump campaign. They've spent millions of tax dollars and countless hours looking into that, and they've come up empty-handed. If Mr. Mueller is going to bring charges today, they should have related in some way to Russia. This clearly is an attempt to pressure Manafort to make things up against the president. I've known him over 50 years. I just don't believe he's going to do that, that he's not going to lie against the president of the United States in some bid to save his own skin. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. In our system, you are innocent until proven guilty. I don't even know that he's guilty of the many things he's accused of today. He's going to have his day in court. But this is an effort that they use in mafia drug cases to try to squeeze somebody to bring in a bigger fish. In this case, the only bigger fish is the president of the United States. It is outrageous. We need a Justice Department that is committed to the rule of law, and the president's tweet is exactly right. Why do Bill and Hillary Clinton continue to skate on provably illegal activities in connection with Uranium One and other scandals with impunity? It's outrageous.
Well, I got to tell you, Roger, that personally, this just disgusts me so much. Not that I'm even scared of Mueller and how the media worships him and acts like he's God and Lord of the Swamp. It's the way these criminals are so arrogant and how they're trying to run the country in the ground and how they're trying to stop the recovery and trying to kill tax cuts. And they're just so nasty. They're beyond any villains in any literature or any movies I ever seen, because truth is stranger than fiction. These people really think they own America. And they want a shrunken, starving America that they can control and buggy whip around. And I'm just personally done with them. And I want them to know, no matter what happens, Mueller and all these other criminals better know that the only place they're popular is in the ass end of this country, Washington, D.C. Everywhere else, they're hated and need to get out of the country.
Well, and Alex, as you know, Twitter suspended my Twitter feed where I had 298,000 followers when I objected to Don Lemon on CNN saying over and over again, the Clintons have been exonerated on Uranium One. Now, I look at the feed of Keith Olbermann, who uses obscenity constantly, attacking the president of the United States, drops the F-bomb. Twitter won't tell me specifically where I violated their guidelines. In fact, they told me that I was temporarily suspended for 3 hours and 22 minutes. And then at the end of that, my account just went dead.
And by the way, do 5 more minutes with us in the next hour before our next guest joins us in studio. Dinesh D'Souza tweeted out a composite of dozens of tweets calling for violence against conservatives, against libertarians, calling people all sorts of horrible names by Keith Olbermann. He's allowed to be there. But if you say that Don Lemon is as dumb as dog crap, you get yours suspended. And that's what the next hour is about. Antifa is allowed to death threat and attack our guest and prominent people and veterans. And if they just mildly respond back, they're banned. And it's because, just like the intelligence agencies are full of people like Reality Winner, it's the same thing at Twitter, Facebook, Google, and others. So we're going to come back to you here in just a moment. Before I go any further here, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to let you know that if you want to fund our operations in the face of the globalists so we can hire more people, have more reporters in the field, and have more analysts to continue to dominate the globalists in the middle of this intense war, you want to go to InfoWarsStore.com today. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items there. We have 50% off on colloidal silver. Now, that is going to have to end this week. Super high quality. I don't have to tell you the great benefits of it. Now it's a backup for infections and other problems. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet or a magic bullet or a panacea, but it's darn close. That's why it's called Silver Bullet. It's just another option in your arsenal for yourself and your family. And it's the very highest quality, 50% off. Now, we also have Anthroplex, which for stamina, libido, energy, you name it. That is 50% off. That's about to end. And we also have Winter Sun, the highest quality organic vitamin D3. Take it in liquid form under the tongue. It is 50% off. And I promise you, because I've been so busy, I haven't done new specials in a week. These are gone tomorrow. They are gone tomorrow. By Wednesday, these deals will be gone. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And it's a commitment. Sign up for AutoShip, get additional 10% off for supporting us and yourself. So you don't have to forget. Sign up for every 15 days, every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. Cancel anytime. Get an additional 10% off. And that way you're supporting us each month. And don't forget to reorder these high-quality products. We've got the ozonated olive oil that people love that sells out so quick. That just came back in stock a few days ago. That's going to be sold out in days. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. We have the new limited edition anti-fascist, anti-communist shirts that take the Antifa logo and turn it into patriotism to trigger them. That's the limited edition shirt available at InfoWarsStore.com as well. So take advantage of that. It's quite a deal at $13.95, but it takes money to fund a war against the globalists. You've been doing it. It's an info war, and we salute you. We'll be back on the other side with hour number 2 with the massive censorship. Stay with us. Coming at you live. 50,000 unstoppable ones. Woo! Man, our next guest has got me so fired up. They banned his video when it had 7 million views. And then because people protested and a lot of stuff happened, when they put it back up, it had 47 million views. That's why every week we have in-studio people we're celebrating who get more views than CNN gets in a week. But they get banned, they lose their jobs, they get persecuted. Stephen Gurn is a highly decorated veteran. I'm not going to go over his whole bio right now. I'm going to do it when he's in studio next segment. I'm sorry, 48 million views on one video. He had a bunch of other videos with tens of millions of views, and they took them down. Now, after protests, they put him back up, but then he got blacklisted from doing his work for different agencies and groups. But he's back, and he's a fellow Texan, going to be here in studio with us coming up. This is powerful information, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason I bring it up is it dovetails into Roger Stone and how you have just been like, has happened to other folks that are too effective, like Milo. They're saying this may be, Politico says it may be a permanent ban from Twitter for daring to challenge the dinosaur media. Just amazing.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. It's hard to say, Alex, because all I've ever heard from Twitter is that I would be suspended for 3 hours and 22 minutes. That was on Saturday. And after the clock ran down on that, what they said in their communication to me was a temporary suspension. I've heard nothing from them, and they don't respond to my inquiries. I don't even know specifically what tweet they objected to, although I think I'm being held to a completely different standard. It seems to me that Keith Olbermann and others have said things far worse, far less temperate than what I'm accused of saying. I really think that this was an attempt to silence me just before the Mueller takedown of Manafort. Fortunately, people who miss my feed on Twitter can follow at Stone Cold Truth. They do a pretty good job of covering my exploits. It's not like my feed, but they're very adept at keeping up with what we're doing here at InfoWars and elsewhere.
And I was about to say, as we all get silenced, it's important for all the listeners and viewers to understand, magnify what Roger's doing. Magnify what I'm doing. Magnify what our next guest is doing. And when we see you getting censored, we magnify what you're doing. That's why we're winning, is because we're not like the left, only out for themselves. We understand and we stand for something, and we are winning, Roger. That's why the swamp has indicted Manafort.
That's absolutely right. The most important thing InfoWarriors can do is take the very best stories from InfoWars. For example, last week, we had an eyewitness who confirmed that Ted Cruz's father, Rafael Cruz, was indeed on the ground with Lee Harvey Oswald, and that the National Enquirer was right. That link should be retweeted by InfoWarriors everywhere.
Or this one that's on drudgereport.com by Dr. Corsi. FBI reliance on discredited Fusion GPS Russia dossier threatens Manafort prosecution. And in 1 minute we have left, we're not just putting a good face on this. This is doomed. This is a PR disaster. They already tried to steal the nomination and steal the seating of the president. This is more sour grapes, and it's not going well. Everybody I know sees through it.
Well, and now we have ties between CNN and a chief correspondent there and GPS Fusion. No, the web gets worse and worse, and we at InfoWars are going to keep covering this story as it unravels, keep bringing people.
And by the way, you've announced you are suing Twitter.
Say again?
I saw in the news, are you going to sue Twitter?
Well, I'm conferring with lawyers. I mean, yes, if we have a strong antitrust case or a strong First Amendment case, I'm hoping they will come to their senses and restore me. Again, I've never been informed that I'm permanently banned. I only hear that from reporters. They don't respond to me at all, other than they're claiming that my suspension was temporary. So we shall see.
Well, that's how they do it. When they finally ban you, they don't want you to know you're banned, so you get the attention. They just want to act like the censorship's not happening. Amazing. We'll talk soon. Infowars.com reporter Roger Stone with his ear to the ground and plugged into Pennsylvania Avenue, you name it. We'll be talking to you very soon. I know you're going to be on the War Room today, coming up 3 o'clock Central Time, as Paul Joseph Watson will be as well. Thank you, Roger Stone.
Look forward to it, Alex.
All right, we got an amazing guest in studio.
These were first spread by radio talk show host Alex Jones.
But to get the employee at YouTube on tape admitting that they do it? I mean, you must be a threat if they call you out by name.
It's fun time.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Name Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex
Alex
Jones.
Jones. Alex Jones. Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is a lunatic.
Because we know that these are legitimate news organizations. And if at that point somebody decides they're going to scroll past that and go find Alex Jones, well, they were looking for him to begin with anyway.
That man's a threat to this country.
There's a guy on the radio.
His name is Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
There's a lot of controversy around this network about Alex Jones, for example.
Time to stop submitting to this tyranny. It's time to realize that we're being enslaved.
I heard that on Alex Jones.
InfoWars went even further.
InfoWars, it's a radio show hosted by Alex Jones.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Nobody can dispute the fact that you're a rapist.
Infowars.com.
Infowars comes to mind.
Infowars.
So right now, the war is the Info War. You watch Infowars? I got a chair going.
Looking at widely reported information from InfoWars.
InfoWars?
Infowars.
Infowars.com.
I want freedom. That's what I want, and that's what you should want.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Now, out in the control room, Tim Kennedy got here earlier. He's one of the hosts and the main investigator on hunting Hitler. The new JFK documents came out and has photos of Hitler alive in 1955 in Argentina, right where Kennedy's been down there investigating. And Kennedy can't get into their third season. It's about to air, but they hit pay dirt. And this document coming out is even wilder. I think I'm living in the Twilight Zone. This is so crazy. So that's all coming up with Tim Kennedy in the next hour. Stephen Gurn, it would take an hour to go over his bio, but I tried to get him on 6-7 months ago when he first put a video out that got 48 million views in a day and a half, and they ended up blocking it for months so it would stop going viral. Then all of a sudden, the agency that he worked with and the groups that were employing him would no longer do it. And it's the same thing, just like Roger Stone. Twitter won't say he's banned for life. They're saying on the news he is. He just goes there and can't log in. So this is what a technocracy is like. Tens of millions of views with his other videos. And the reason I bring this up is that you can have myself or a Brandon Tatum, the black police officer in Arizona, or Tim Kennedy, or thousands of other people who put up videos that get 5, 6, 7 million views in a day. Boom, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube either bans them or blocks them until that viral curve stops. Paul Watson routinely would get videos with 30 million views in 2 days. They would just block it. But his were so hot, when they took the block off, it'd still go up. They just remove them, but don't even say why they're removed. So the reason we're raising this, folks, CNN doesn't have 20 million viewers in a day, okay? We have more than 10 million a day one way or another, and that's with all the censorship. They're all a joke. They're a fraud. So I wanted you to know a guy that's been banned from his contracting work for U.S. government agencies, you name it, a guy that has had them persecute him for telling the truth about radical Islam and what he witnessed. So we're going to introduce him, talk a little bit, then play part of the video that's been censored that they don't want you to see. And then to understand, we're not worried about the jihadis running around out in the bushes. I mean, they're bad enough trying to kill the soldiers and Marines and folks. But it's the people in the suits. That's what you were saying today. The Robert Mueller's the guy at the FBI that took Islam off the radical list, radical Islam, and you couldn't investigate anybody who was a Muslim as being a potential terrorist, period. They like had a get-out-of-jail-free card, even San Bernardino. So that's where this is going, is you're going to hear the info that they're most scared of, that they don't want you to hear. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. The people want to hear what you have to say, but they try to block you. You gave up your career, your livelihood to tell the truth. That makes you an even bigger hero in my book.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, that video, obviously, I had no intention on it going viral in any way, shape, or form. I was actually, you know, in the ready room with some other teams. We discussed the executive order that was put out. I usually challenge my guys pretty often. And later on that afternoon, you know, it just kind of really didn't sit right with me, and I had made a video. The video was a 3-minute video, not expecting. I mean, I don't think I had I didn't have any followers at the time, and I had about 1,000 friends in total. And I put the video out. Next thing you know, by the next morning, it had gone viral. Didn't even know what a viral video was at that point in time. From there, I went to the armory, picked up my weapons. We went out on mission, came back around noon, had noon chow. At that time, it was like 5,000 to 8,000 or 5 or 6 million views. Shortly thereafter, I got a call to the office, told, hey, we love the video. Everything is great, but your life's in danger. We got to get you out of the country. So I said, okay, well, when do you need to get me out of the country? And they said, well, right now. There was a plane on the tarmac already, and jumped on that plane 30 minutes after I was told I needed to leave. I was able to grab one backpack, my passport, and head out of the country. They managed to get me an exit visa and everything else within, 16 hours after the video was made. And I spent a night in Baghdad under a guard force. And then from there, went to Istanbul, Turkey, and Turkey back to Dallas. And shortly after that, got contacted by Sean Hannity and went on a Hannity show. But in the meantime, from there, everything was shut down. My Facebook was shut down. My Twitter was shut down. Everything just completely shut down. YouTube shut down, gone, as if I didn't even exist.
And then they act like they're not censoring. When this happened to you, how many months ago?
This was, what, 6, 7 months ago now?
Seems like a million years ago now. Mm-hmm. Back then, they would just say, oh, no, we're not censoring, but your site would be gone. Now they admit they're doing it and then say, we don't deserve to have a platform, but then we're so much more popular than anything they've got. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's gotten so bad. Like, I've noticed over the last 7 months.
You were telling me you can't even, now your stuff's banned instantly.
Well, yeah, last week, I guess, no, the week before, I put a video out. Basically, it was more of me making fun of these haters and these people who continue to send me death threats. So I read out verbatim the death threats that I had gotten. And within 2 hours, the video was going viral for sure. It was already at like 250,000 views. And within that 2 hours, it was gone. Got that whole thing from Facebook saying that this doesn't follow community standards, so on and so forth. And my my Facebook was blocked for 30 days.
But then they let the haters continue to go on and attack you. In fact, we have a video coming up later after you leave us where Gavin and Millie Weaver went and actually tracked the people that got Roger Stone's account banned. They're on their Twitters bragging how they got him banned and also calling for violence. So SJWs run the big telecoms there and the big internet companies. There is a silent war, a cold war against patriots, pro-America people, just decent folks. They call for violence against us. We simply expose it. We get banned.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny because I was just recently in a class called UTT, Understanding the Threat. And, you know, we talked a lot about the Marxist movement, talked a lot about, you know, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, as well as, you know, Islam and Sharia law and so on and so forth, and how they all kind of working together right now. And this is what it is. It's a Marxist movement is what it is.
They think this is the big overthrow.
Yeah, it is. And you know, a lot of people, a lot of left wing don't even understand. You know, when you talk to them, you say, hey, do you know who Alinsky is? And they don't even know who Alinsky is. And I just...
They don't even know their programmer.
No, they don't. They don't. And it's unreal to look at them and say, how can I even take you serious if you don't even know where you're, you know, what fight you're fighting? You have no...
You don't even know who your daddy is.
No. They have no basis on anything they're actually doing or what they're saying. So it's just, it's unbelievable.
Alinsky, of course, pledged allegiance to Lucifer in the front of his book. When we come back, we're going to play the big censored video. And since there's that other one, that's the other one. So please go tell my producers or crew during the break, the other video that started to go viral that they blocked, if you've got a copy of it. I don't know, sometimes folks don't, so we can show people what they don't want the world to see. But I experienced this as well. They've got Twitter, Facebook accounts that have been around for 2 years. Some of them 500,000 followers calling for Trump's murder. And, you know, Democrats get on TV and say, hashtag hunt Republicans. And that's okay. But you say, hey, don't call for violence. They ban you.
Right. I mean, in Dallas, I basically said, hey, you know, I made a video about the statues being taken down. And, of course, as soon as I did it, it went viral. And I was, boom, gone. It had 10 million views in 24 hours. And, you know, at that 24-hour mark, gone. It was gone.
Well, Stephen Gurn, that's because you're a real guy. You connect with people. They don't like that. They want to shut you down. We'll be back. Stephen Gurn's our guest in studio. He's had some of the most viral videos ever talking about his experience as a Marine and then, of course, a contractor working for U.S. government agencies in combat zones. I'm not going to go over his whole bio, but he's a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who works for different groups previously, served with the Marine Corps Security Force Battalion, recaptures tactics teams member, weapons company, platoon sergeant, Marine Corps drill instructor, operations program management, research analysis, intel gathering, training development. I'm going to go over it all. Small arms, weapons, operations security, multi-party liaison communication systems, first responders, enlisted Marine Corps in 94, is heavy machine gunner. And he is on Facebook.com at Stephen.Gern, G-E-R-N, Twitter at SW Gurn, G-E-R-N, Instagram, Stephen Gurn, 1775, warpigswear.com. And he's with us here in studio because imagine all of his videos end up getting millions of views, but they all end up getting blocked or basically deleted. So let's take us back to the time when you, like you said, have like 1,000 followers or whatever. They're just friends and family and folks you know. To you do this video. What made you decide to make the video that we're about to play that's been censored?
So basically, the year prior to, or the year moving on to Donald Trump being elected as president, there was a lot of animosity in Iraq. And I was in a position where, you know, I spent a lot of time with the Iraqis pretty much every single day. And, you know, I would challenge them quite often about, you know, their thoughts and their morals and so on and so forth. Well, something that was being very, very evident was that there was a lot more aggression that was being, you know, kind of put toward the Americans, mainly because, you know, President Donald Trump was going to win the election. So when the executive order had come out that morning, it was funny because that morning, obviously, the Iraqis were all upset about something, which they're always upset about something. So when I got to the ready room, we had talked about what exactly was going on. And I had said to him, I said, so as an American, what would happen to me if I went out in town right now? You know, I already knew the answer, but I wanted to hear it from them. So they told me, obviously, you would be killed and so on and so forth. And I said, exactly. So why would you even want to come to the United States? If you hate Americans so much, why would you want to come to the United States? Now, the biggest thing about that is that the reason why they want to come to the United States is because they can use all of our laws against us. Because obviously, you know, Sharia law apparently is a religion, which it's really not. But because they think Sharia law is a religion, or we actually allow it to be a religion, they are allowed to use the First Amendment against us, which is a really, really big thing. And it's something that we really need to address here in the very, very
The intolerant use our tolerance against us.
Exactly. So they know what they can do, and that's why they want to come to the United States and do what they want to do. So that's what, prompted me to make the video. I had never really made a video before. And when I did make the video, next thing I know, it had gone viral in such a way that the State Department and company had gotten a hold of me and said, basically, we can't have you in the country anymore because of death threats, and we're worried about your safety, and so on and so forth. So I ended up getting removed out of the country, and ultimately losing my job over the whole thing.
And to this day, they try to censor the videos. It's not enough to make you lose your livelihood and what you believe in. On top of it, they now want to actually shut you up here in America when, again, you can't go to Saudi Arabia. You can't go to Iraq. You can't go there and be a Christian. You can't go there and be an atheist. You can't go there and be gay. You can't go there and whatever. You'll be killed. But then we're saying, hey, but bring people here and then bow down to them and then teach Sharia in public schools, which I first heard that 10 years ago, didn't believe it. It's happening from Germany to the U.S. right now. I mean, we are being taken over. The Democrats are led by Linda Sarsour, whose mother writes books about cutting women's genitals off. This is like a Twilight Zone episode. And then we as Americans can't say, listen, I've been over here for years. I've been all over the Middle East and all over Central Asia, like you said in the video. I can't go off base, or they'll kill me and they'll kill anybody else. Why in the hell would we bring these people here? And why would they want to come here? And for saying common sense, for saying 2 + 2 = 4, you are banned.
It's funny, and obviously we talk about slowing down the refugees or so on and so forth coming into the country. It's a proven route. It is a proven route that they are able to pose as a refugee and get into countries and create
80% of them, 10 million of them are military-age men.
Exactly. I mean, we look at what's happened in the EU. That basically, that is 100%. That is the plan. That is exactly what they're going to do here in the United States if we allow it to happen. Plain and simple. What they're doing right now in that country.
They have a program. They have a formula.
And they do. And it's part of their bylaws. When you look into, the Muslim Brotherhood and so on and so forth, it's part of their actual bylaws. It's what they believe. And they're following that law to the T. They're doing it.
And they're spending all their money. They don't go out and see movies. They don't buy fancy clothes. All of it goes to overthrow the House of War that's not House of Islam. Everything is overthrow us. Everything is take us over. Everything is lie about it so they get enough numbers. And that's why they're, again, I've been threatened by, you name it, and they say, look, just stop bashing Islam. Just let it come in, and we're going to leave you alone. The main threat is do not talk about Islamic invasion. Just shut up, Jones, or we're going to get you.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. But obviously, we have enough Americans here that, we need to understand exactly what our fight is. And I'm not saying that we have to worry about the black pajama wearing jihadist running down the road with an AK. I say we need to worry about the suit wearing jihadist that's in the White House right now, that's in our government, that continue to create policies that are allowing these guys to come into the country and pretty much do whatever they want to do. And we have to bow down. We are basically, our government is basically allowing Sharia to be implied onto us as Americans.
And it's crazy. You got Hollywood bashing Christians, saying get rid of Christianity when we're totally open, and then loving Islam. Since when did the left love Islam? Since they got bought off by it.
I don't know. The left, I don't think they actually have an idea of what they're doing. They're in such disarray right now. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You see, they're calling and biting at everything they could possibly and making something out of nothing. And we look at the fake dossier right now, and it's just unbelievable the extent of what they have done to create something that's not there. And actually, what's happened is they've only identified themselves and caused themselves to be under the limelight because it was their dossier. They funded it. I mean, how can you put $9 million into something and not know?
By the way, that's yesterday's number. Oh, it's almost 14 million now.
And they don't even realize where this has gone. We don't know where the money came from or that we spent money on that. The left, come on. You know exactly what you did. And It just didn't work. And now,
well, they knew that they were in bed with the Russians to a great extent, so they had to blame the pro-America forces as if we're in bed. I mean, they said I'm in bed with no evidence. I mean, I have lawsuits, but I'm too busy to even worry about it. But it's like somebody telling me I'm a Martian. When, you know, you're a Russian agent, and the Russians tell you what to say. Nobody tells me what to say, including myself. I wish I could get control of myself.
Well, that's the funny thing about it is what they do is it's all accusations. It's not real, but they think, you know, if I put this out there, maybe it's going to cause a problem, or even if it slows down the process for a short period of time for conservatives or Republicans, that's what they're trying to do. But at this point, because CNN is such fake news and all these other, you know, mainstream media, they're looking to places like InfoWars and so on and so forth to find a better, you know, to find.
That's right. Stephen Gurn, stay there, American patriot, veteran, one of the most banned people in the world. I mean, they ban his stuff minutes after it comes out. They absolutely hate this guy. And more I realize the broadcast has to be whatever they're censoring of ours is the most important. That's what they're afraid of, so that's what we magnify. I know that's common sense, but I just figured it out. We'll be right back. Stay with us with these censored videos. The rats are leaving the sinking ship. Tony Podesta is stepping down from his powerful lobbying firm. Now that's been exposed, he took hundreds of millions in Russian cash. Then his brother blamed Trump, hoping it would cover for them. But they failed. Tony Podesta, the guy who was in the Washington Post in 2007 showing pictures of naked children on his walls who'd been paddled, saying, I have deviant art, and I don't care what you think. Yeah, buddy, we know all about it. Things aren't going too well for Kevin Spacey, apologizing for trying to rape a 14-year-old. It's all coming out. See how you guys like it. Your gang raping of America is coming to an end. Stephen Gurn is our guest, Marine, decorated contractor, you name it. Not going to get into all the stuff he's done. Obviously, facebook.com/Stephen.Gurn. Undoubtedly some of the most viral videos on the web. Before we play one of these, and then one of the latest that's been censored, where you call down Antifa that's calling for your death. They're allowed to call for your death. You're not allowed to say it's wrong. We have a Millie Weaver video out right now where her and Gavin discovered the same thing on Roger Stone. They're bragging how they got him banned while they're calling for violence. You had a story to tell about that.
Yeah, you know, there was this last time, obviously, when I was in Iraq, just before, well, just after the Orlando shooting, and that was actually played in the chow hall that morning. And obviously, you know, I was over there, and a lot of things that were going on. Every time that something would happen, you know, I would obviously look at some of the Iraqis and say, hey, you know, what do you feel about this? Well, that particular morning, after the Orlando shooting, when we obviously seen what was going on, I had gotten into the vehicle. And when I got into the vehicle, my driver, and I won't say his name, but he was a Muslim. I had asked him, I said, so what are your thoughts about the Orlando shooting, which was a terroristic act? And his response to me was, Inshallah. So Inshallah means in Arabic, it was God's will. So that's the mentality of these people. They don't care whether or not we're dead or alive. Preferably they want us dead. But it was at that point when I really, really realized that there is no working with these people, 100%. For him to sit there and say to me, Inshallah, for all those people who died, it was God's will. I just pretty much, and that was, you know, shortly after I made the video. And
those are mainly liberal gay people being killed. I'm not blaming them for it, but I mean, they're trying to bring more of these guys in that want to kill them. Here you are, a Marine, a patriot, a contractor over there trying to stabilize their country, trying to keep super radical Wahhabist ISIS from taking over. And you mean nothing, even though you're in a vehicle. I couldn't do that. Being in a vehicle with somebody who doesn't even care that your people just died, it just the total disrespect.
They don't care. They don't even, you know, they don't even want us there. They want the money. That's all they want. They want the money. You know, we keep building their infrastructure. We build their Air Force. We build their Army. We keep doing this. And you know what? It just kicks us in the face every time. We have these foreign military, you know, projects that we do over there, and we spend billions and billions of dollars for what? You know, all they do is they destroy the equipment. They steal it. They bring it out in town. They sell it. We continue to do this, and there's no reason.
One example I heard was a water truck going to give water to people that didn't have water. and the guard guarding it stripped down naked and got in the truck and swam around naked and didn't care he was going to give them all cholera. It was a total selfishness. It's just God's will that he wipes his ass with the water supply.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, because of the sectarian violence and just everything that goes on there, you know, they're just trying to, we are the primary enemy, but once we're out of the way, they're just going to fight themselves anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. The policy, like Trump said early on, is get out, but he's trying to stabilize it, knock out the ISIS cancer, and then pull out. At least that's what the military says. We've had some success. What do you think of what Trump's done so far?
I think he's done great things so far. I just really wish, believe it or not, that we would just go. We would stop. My thoughts personally at this point, President Trump is doing amazing things, but what we need to do is just stop. Stop funding all their projects. Get out of Iraq. Get out of Afghanistan. Get out of Syria. Let them do whatever they want to do. Take that money, put it back in the United States. If we're going to build a wall, let's build a wall. Let's use the guys that have security, that are doing security over there, bring them back home and let them do security on the wall, because you know that.
Sure. I want to start getting to some of these videos, but what do you make of, I mean, it's admitted that Mueller is like in 10 companies with Russians where you're supposed to invest $10 million, but they'd say, oh, no, you're in it for free, and then just pay him dividends when he didn't invest. That's clear payoffs. And he's on tarmacs transferring uranium and killing investigations on Hillary when she's a Secretary of State. And like he's like seriously like a James Bond villain. He's protecting radical Islam in the database, not letting people go after him, ordering the FBI to not even investigate Mosk. I mean, this is like a serious bad guy. And then they bust Manafort with stuff of like offshore accounts for foreign elections he ran. And the word is it's not even illegal, and it doesn't have to do with Russia. How obvious is that?
I don't understand why he's not stepped down. I mean, it's unbelievable to see, you know, the audacity of these people who continue to, you know, destroy our country. And they do it without any... They sleep great at night.
Impunity.
Just like Hillary Clinton. I don't know how that woman sleeps at night, but she obviously does. Or maybe she doesn't. Who knows?
No, she gets off on, she liked ordering a stand down in Benghazi. That's her dominance, is to kill U.S. troops.
It is. And she doesn't care, because you know what? For her, it makes money. It really does. It makes money.
She's a sociopath.
There's something seriously wrong with that woman. But,
well, let's go ahead and start going to a few minutes of the banned video about a year ago of you laying all this out, 48 million views, and that's, again, they froze it for a while. It'd probably be 500 million if they hadn't blocked it. Here it is.
I don't work over in the United States. I work overseas, and I'm currently in Iraq, which is one of the countries that are on the list. And there's been a lot of discussion about the executive order. Obviously, in the United States, there's lots going on, and over here, there's a lot going on as well. Just a lot of things you all don't see. So the other morning, we were having a discussion on the executive order, and a lot of the Iraqis obviously showed their displeasure in this executive order, and why they feel like they've been betrayed by the United States and so on. Now, I'm not here to get into a discussion with you about policies or this or that or anything like that. I just want to talk to you and make a comment about the discussion I actually had with these gentlemen. So I listened to what they had to say, and after they were done, you know, yelling and screaming about their opinion on things, I asked a simple question, and I got an answer to that simple question, and I got it without hesitation. My simple question was, as an American, if I went out in town right now, would I be welcome? And they instantly said, absolutely not, you would not be welcome. And I said, okay, so what would happen if I went out in town? And they said, the locals would snatch me up and kill me within an hour. I'd be tortured first, and after they were done torturing me, I would probably be beheaded. It would, you know, go on video for everybody to see as, you know, an example. And so I already knew this was going to happen, but I wanted to hear it from them. And, you know, the point I'm trying to make is, you know, this is the local populace that would do this. This isn't ISIS. This isn't Al-Qaeda. This isn't the PMU. This isn't a militia from the Iranians or anything like that. This is the local populace that would do this. So my question to them was pretty simple then after that. If you would do this to me in your country, why would I let you in my country? Because all this means to me is that if you had the opportunity to take the life of an American, you would do it. So maybe that's something you all need to think about back there. If this is the way some of these cultures feel, this is the way that these countries feel about Americans, why would you be so naive to believe that if they came to the United States, they would do anything any different than what they would do right here in their own country?
Wow, and that's why they banned it. It's pure common sense. Why would we commit suicide? We're not welcome in their country. Why would we bring them here? Alex Jones here, back live. Stephen Gurn is our guest. Patriot, former Marine Corps drill sergeant, you name it, and contractor. And then his videos, on average, get like 5 million views. One of them has 48 million views, and that's even after they blocked it for a while, then turned it back on. But you were making a lot of points about why you're here. You were saying that because the time's come, they're blocking people from their own Facebooks, their own Twitters, and it's becoming, you know, these multimedia outlets like InfoWars or Drudge are the only places, or Breitbart, that'll still be able to punch through the censorship.
That's exactly right. At this point right now, if anything mainstream media, you're just going to get censored. Everything you do, I mean, if I make a video right now and I say Black Lives Matter, Antifa, anything about Islam, it's
calling for killing cops. If you say calling for killing cops is wrong, they ban that video. Nothing's more protected than Antifa or BLM. Why?
I don't get it. You know, it's all part of this Marxist movement, and it's being paid for by, you know, whatever organization, George Soros, if you want to say it. But
he admits it.
It's obviously being paid for.
He just tripled down with $18 billion.
Well,
$18 billion. Have you seen these meth head Antifa people?
I've seen it. I don't get it. I mean, you know, these people, they think they're actually going to bring the fight to us, and obviously it's not going to happen. They have no fight in them. Basically, they're cowards. They're going to cover their faces. They're going to you know, start something and run away. It's just it's their AO. It's what they do, or what we call as TTPs. You know, how they operate. And overall, I think that enough people are going to get, you know, mad enough about it. I don't want to curse on here, but enough people are going to get so mad about it that they're just going to stop it. You know, Republicans
coming up this weekend, they claim they're going to kill cops, burn things down, start like, because it was all coordinated, these indictments, and Trump needs to leave. They're going to have marches everywhere. Trump leave office, and they're going to kill people, beat people up, and the media is going to cover it up.
Yeah, so apparently, you know, this weekend on the 4th, actually on the 4th, they're meant to be having the Civil War. They're going to start a Civil War. Okay, well, how are they possibly going to do it? And obviously, who's funding it?
Because they can't even, you know, get groceries unless mommy buys them.
Pretty much. These people, and again, I mean, obviously, how do you protest for a week straight? Seriously, how do you? I work for a living. So I have to actually go to a job and do something. So how exactly are all these people able to take a week off of work? Because I don't know any organization.
George Soros pays thousands a day.
And that's exactly it.
He admits it. In fact, guys, put in $18 billion. He usually gives $500 million a year to overthrow the U.S. He just put $18 billion into a fund to overthrow Europe and the U.S.
And you know, he's going to be successful to a point.
He calls it pro-democracy. They're trying to overthrow elected governments, and they call it that.
I don't get it. And, you know, I hate to say it, he's pretty old, so I don't think he's going to be around much longer. But
and he's got that little demon son, though.
Oh, well.
Now, I'm not going to play this video because you've got some of their clips and their profanity, but last week you put a video out, Antifa threatening you. All you did was respond, and Facebook banned this video. It's still available on YouTube. We'll put it on screen for TV viewers. For radio listeners, I'll give you the name if you want to see it. More death threats, fake profiles, and Antifa. Tell folks about this.
So basically, in this video, I thought it was quite funny. some of the threats that were coming. So I decided I'm not going to really make a video and say you people are good or bad or whatever. Basically, I just read the actual comments that were put on Facebook and on YouTube. I read them out, and because I read those comments out, I actually got blocked. Now that video is getting.
But then they weren't banned though. The video shows it.
No, They're not. Some of them have been taking their comments down. You know, there was an Antifa video that I made, you know, months and months ago. And the original video that started that, where this Antifa member was saying that, you know, we're going to go kill Nazis, and we were apparently the Nazis, conservatives and Republicans. That video has been taken down. But, I mean, it takes that much for them to do that, for them to take down a video. And I mean, the only reason why they took that video down is because they were protecting that person. That's it. You know, when you got a guy who's actually loading an AK on YouTube and saying, we're going to go out there and kill Nazis, then that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
The communists are so pissed. This is America. This isn't some poor third world country they overthrow. They could get to, you know, kill 1 million people. They are so angry that they just can't finally bring down America. And then right when Hillary was supposed to be the Messiah, they were supposed to have us. They were supposed to totally win. Everything goes to you-know-what for them.
Yeah, and now it's just they've lost it. They
think threatening us, like, it makes us get up in the morning. They think threatening us scares us. That's what's funny.
Yeah, really. I mean, you want to hide behind a mask, and you're wearing your, you know, skinny jeans and everything else, and you think that you're going to actually be able to do something to men who actually have fought for this country, and you think you're going to stand up to them and basically go, I'm going to fight you. It's not going to happen. You're looking at guys who are seasoned, guys who have done this, you know, and fought for the country, and then you come out there with your little skinny jeans and you think you're actually going to.
It's not even a comparison. It's crazy that the army of Soros is a bunch of meth heads that grew up in their mother's basement, and then Hillary makes fun of her supporters and calls them useless trash in WikiLeaks.
Well, she is. There's something wrong with her. I mean, she's probably on
her own hordes. She hates her own hordes.
Yeah, and you know, everyone's turning their back on her now. I mean, she has a few supporters still.
Yeah, what do you think of the Podestas resigning?
Well, he needed to.
Because the word is his brother. He works for his brother. So, I mean, they're in deep trouble. This whole Mueller thing is just desperation.
It is. And that's, like you said earlier, we are winning. And because we're winning, you know, things are happening. And obviously this dossier, and now the rats are leaving the ship. I mean, they are scattering as much as they possibly can because they realize anybody who was involved. I'm surprised Obama is still even in the country.
Harvey Weinstein already fled.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They're going to start leaving the country.
I was about to say, you can see the momentum. I don't just say this to, like, create the reality I want. No, I always wait till it happens. Victory is in our grasp.
It is.
It's going to get bad, though.
It is. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But at this point right now, we just got to keep steady, keep pushing forward, and making sure that we get our word out. And like you said earlier, the problem is they keep shutting us down. If we don't come together as a group and start working together, we're not going to be able to get our word
exactly.
out.
They never want to admit they're censoring, even though they are. They want the tactic of wearing us out, giving us to give up. But when we make a bigger deal about the censorship, it makes it even go bigger, Streisand effect. That's why you've got to, every time they stand up to fight them as hard as you can, just like an exercise of breathing, never giving up.
Absolutely. So, you know, we talk about viral videos. We talk about, you know, things that continue to happen. Well, when a video goes viral, or if it doesn't go viral, or if it's about to go viral and it gets pulled, we need to be able to share that to the next guy. You know, whether it's Infowars.com or wherever.
That's what we've all got to say. Our videos, open, use them, do whatever you want with them. Exactly. Everything, this is precious. Everything we're doing, the enemy's scared of it. And whatever they particularly censor, you know, their algorithm sees it as kryptonite.
Absolutely. They realize that the word is getting out. When they see that many people who view the video and the comments that are on those videos, you know, when you got 2,000 plus shares on a video, obviously a lot of people believe in what you're saying.
And they want to kill it in the crib.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
think about your videos killed in the crib at 48 million views. It'd be one of the biggest videos ever.
Yeah, I think it went viral so quickly they didn't know what to do with it. And when they realized it, they were like, oh my God, we got to stop this. And obviously they did, but it didn't stop. You know, it already hit, you know, 48 million views by that time.
Was you've done so much great work, but that was your next level. Then you realized, I was talking earlier, like, I could let them blackball me, let them ban me. I'm just going to come back and fight in America politically. And now they're really scared. They really took you. If they'd have left you alone and it got 100 million views, you'd probably gone away. But now that they did that to you, let me guess, now you're back stronger.
And I am. I mean, I realized, you know, I basically lost my main means of making money So now I'm here back in the United States, and what am I going to do? I mean, I get aggravated.
Well, for now, folks, go to warpigswear.com and get some great T-shirts. Infowarstore.com, get our T-shirts as well. Just religiously fund the operation. Buy the T-shirts. Give them to local kids. Give them to homeless, whatever. It's about an InfoWar. Everything's about spreading the word, whether it's the War Pigs apparel or InfoWarsStore.com apparel. We've got a bunch of specials about to end. BioTrue Selenium, 40% off. Survival Shield X2, 40% off. Secret 12, 40% off. Supermel Vitality, 30% off. Anthroplex, 50% off. Those will end tomorrow because we've got new specials, but not as this extensive. And I get so fired up, I don't even plug, but for 30 seconds an hour, we need your financial support if you want victory. InfoWarsStore.com. New ball caps in, a lot more. 5 more minutes with our guests. Then Tim Kennedy, host of Hunting Hitler, with the new JFK files released by President Trump, saying what Kennedy's been saying all along, Hitler was still alive in Argentina. Stephen Gurn, we've got coming up in the next segment, a great American patriot and great UFC fighter and Green Beret, Tim Kennedy, whose 3rd season of Hunting Hitler is about to air. He can't give us the secrets, but he says these new data dumps of the JFK files by Trump showing Hitler still alive in Argentina in 1955, it dovetails with that. That's coming up. But we were talking during the break, and I want to have you back anytime. I mean, you just come down there. We'd love to have you contribute your own podcast. Hope you co-host new shows with us. We're going to go 24 hours a day very, very soon, or 20 hours a day. It's just we got to get the crew in place to run all the shows. But we're doing that right now. Within 3 or 4 months, we'll be ready. But just in the few minutes we have, any other points you want to add, other points you want to get to? And separately, we were talking about what is Antifa? You were saying they're like a mind control. We asked why they're so dumb, why they're so weird, why they act so mentally ill, why they're such bad soldiers. These are really autistic victims from what we found. And you were actually on your own saying this. This is the army of Mordor, and it makes you feel sad almost for them that we actually care about their future and they hate us. Can you speak to that, what you were saying?
Yeah, basically, you know, what I see is I see a lot of uneducated younger generation that they don't have a leader. They don't have somebody to follow. Maybe they don't have a father figure in the house or something like that. So what they're doing is they're looking to, you know, this alternative, and they're not being educated. They're not taking a look at what these other generations have done, you know, before them. And we're talking about, you know, back in 1917 and so on and so forth, you know, during just before the war. And what's happening is history is repeating itself, and it's going straight back to where it was back then, where you have a generation of people that are uneducated. And I don't mean, you know, they're not learning in school or they're not smart. They can do electronics.
They're not historically, they're not street smart.
Right. They're not, and they're not looking up, you know, what the history is all about and actually learning what happened in history. And we are destined to repeat the same thing. And when you approach them and you say, hey, do you know what a Marxist movement is? Do you know what this is? Do you know what that is?
They don't even know they're in it.
They don't, and that's the biggest thing.
They're shock troops, Bolshevik Revolution, 100 years later, like you said, and they don't even know.
They don't, and they're being pushed into this because they don't want to look for the information themselves, read about it, understand it. So they're being put into this because, one, you know,
Talk about mind control. They're soldiers for George Soros and the globalists and communists and don't even know it.
Antifa, how can you say you're anti-fascist when you're doing the fascist things? It doesn't make sense. You know,
not letting people into the inauguration, beating up women.
And they're doing it every day, and they're accusing us of doing it, but yet they do it every day. It doesn't make any sense. So when you look at a person like that, you have to say there's some sort of mental instability there for you to even do what you're doing and take the position that you take. So I don't know. Obviously, we're still winning this fight, but
I agree. We're winning intellectually. What do you think's coming November 4th? They say they're going to kill cops, burn things, blow stuff up. I think it's going to be a dud, hopefully.
I think it's going to be a dud. And the reason they may stand out there and they may say this, they may say that, but at the end of the day, they're going to cover their face. They're going to bring a couple little sticks with them. And the first time that they throw a punch and everybody else goes after them, they're going to run off. That's all you got to do, pull that mask off their face. Pull the mask off their face.
But then they'll get some mental patient they wound up to run somebody over with a car. Well, I mean, that whole thing in Virginia was government run.
Absolutely. That made no sense. It just, that whole thing was...
Well, the good news is...
to stir things up. That's all it is, Alex. It's
that which doesn't kill us only makes us stronger. and you're reaching bigger audiences than ever, and now they've run you out of your livelihood defending America. So now you're telling me you're going to be full-time fighting the info war. I'm excited, Stephen.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's great. They just made another big, giant enemy. If they think your hundreds of millions of views are bad now, wait till you're writing books, doing speaking tours, and co-hosting this show with me along with Tim Kaine and everybody else.
Absolutely.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, that's Stephen Gern, G-E-R-N. Twitter, SWGERN. Be sure and follow him. I'm Alex Jones at Real Alex Jones. We'll be back. Stay with us.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection. It created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No. Well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets that if I weren't there, somebody else would be taking it away anyhow. And it was whether I was there or not, the property was being taken away. So I had no sense of guilt.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Get me Roger Stone. Oh, wait, I can't get a hold of Roger Stone because he's been suspended from Twitter.
I'm getting no signal from it, sir.
And SJW trolls have been bragging and fighting over who gets to take credit over Roger Stone being suspended from Twitter. Now, let's take a look at these controversial tweets that Roger Stone tweeted that landed him in Twitter jail. At Don Lemon. Stop lying about the Clintons and uranium, you ignorant, lying cocksucker. You fake news, you dumb piece of shit. I picture Roger Stone sitting there, flipping through his television, coming across CNN fake news, and hearing Don Lemon spew more BS and lies, and I think he just really kind of lost it and just had to give it to him on Twitter. When AT&T acquires Time Warner, the house cleaning at CNN of human excrement like Don Lemon, Jake Tapper, and dumb Anna Navarro will be swift. But wait, it's not like any of these tweets even violate Twitter's rules. So let's see what these SJWs are bragging about and claiming how they got Roger Stone's Twitter account suspended in the first place. The first tweet claiming to have taken the great Roger Stone down is by David A. Wood,
a snarky, passionate advocate for acceptance, inclusion, and humanitarianism.
I'm sorry, but your description offends me itself, so maybe I should just flag your account right now.
I have reported this tweet, which appears to encourage harm be brought to someone.
So apparently, encouraging harm to be brought on someone is calling them a pile of human excrement, or a dumb or a dumb, lying piece of shit. So calling somebody names you don't like is somehow inciting violence? It's not like other people aren't calling for Donald Trump's death on a daily basis. I don't see Twitter suspending their accounts. These SJWs are out of control because after all, remember, words are violence. You know, I don't know about you, but I would rather somebody call me names than punch me in the face. Then we have an SJW claiming that this troll
needs to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize due to the selfless sacrifice you've made here tonight.
This is what happens when every kid gets a trophy in school. You should get trophies now for being trolls on the internet, not for actually, discovering the cure for cancer, creating world peace. No, being a troll on the internet, getting Roger Stone kicked off, Nobel Peace Prize for you. So of course we have other SJWs claiming,
I have done the same. I did too. Me too. Ditto.
I reported it as well. It's full of harassment towards Mr. Lemon.
And I do find it kind of fitting that Don Lemon's last name is a lemon. Someone sold us a lemon.
Roger is a douchebag and as narcissistic as 45.
But wait a minute, isn't calling him a douchebag a sexist, misogynist term that should get you violated from Twitter yourself?
You did the right thing, David. Might have saved a life.
I'm sorry, saved a life. Aren't we getting a little bit dramatic?
Dear Netflix, cut your ties with Roger Stone. I'm closing my account and will not be opening it as long as you're promoting this racist POS.
I'm sorry, but how the heck is Netflix promoting Roger Stone by doing a hit piece propaganda film about him? But wait, we have another person letting the original troll know he reported Mr. Stone first.
I reported it before I saw your tweet.
I did it first. Me.
Now this one really takes the cake. This, again, is from the original troll that decided to take credit for getting Roger Stone suspended from Twitter. He later tweets,
Note to self, don't gloat. It isn't pretty.
yes, he has been bombarded with trolls. We're talking SJW trolls saying, no, I did it first. I get the Nobel Peace Prize. I get the trophy. Hypocrite much? Double standard much? Or just liberal logic?
All right, for the rest of the hour, Tim Kennedy, my good buddy, Green Beret, Patriot, UFC fighter, talk show host of an investigator on hunting Hitler, is with us. And I was trying to get him on a month ago about hunting Hitler because the third season was coming out. He said, I got to wait. But then this weekend, I'm on his Twitter and I'm on my feed and I see, okay, I didn't read these new documents out of the JFK stuff. And sure enough, I went to the National Archives. There it was. Hitler in 55, photographed in Argentina, like everybody always said. They found the witnesses, the old submarine, German mansions built in the middle of mountains. I mean, wow. Now, you can't tell us the new stuff. This is a short segment, but coming up, you're telling me, Tim Kennedy, this is dead on.
Yeah, we've known it for a long time. People have suspected it, but we have real evidence. Like, you cannot deny the proof that we've found. You can't deny the documents that are being released. I mean,
so third season is the total money shot of a hit show.
We found things that people have been looking for 75 years. And we found actual evidence.
God, you found the submarine and all the rest of it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, a real U-boat with the capabilities of transporting high-value
But there's
targets.
Germans everywhere. I mean, they admit a lot of them did go over there. We had the Operation Paperclip here.
Yeah, fascists, the enemy of our friend, or how does it go? The enemy, our friend's enemy is our friend?
Yes. Yeah. It's the enemy of my enemies, my friend.
Yeah, there we go. We hated socialism. We hated communism. I still do. And in the South, we found that fascism was an opportunity to fight communism growing in Venezuela and Argentina. So these fascist dictators, we maybe even helped. And we found real evidence of what they're doing and how they're doing it. It was frightening.
Incredible. But, I mean, how is it Hunting Hitler comes out a few years ago? It's a top show on History Channel. And then now, right as it's about to come out, CIA files, which he tried to block, Hitler was alive down there. Do you have any idea how old he was when he died or where he may be buried?
Well, first of all, thanks for the CIA for releasing that 30 days before the TV show comes out. That's fantastic work. I had all total to do with that. No, whether he died in that bunker where he didn't, we took a different approach for this season. We did the exact same thing that everybody has done in the past 10 years searching for terrorists. The way that we caught bin Laden, the way that we caught Zarqawi, we looked at their network. We followed the information, the trails and the evidence of the people that were facilitating these high-level Nazis. Guys like Skorzensky, guys like Joseph Mengele.
Klaus Barbie.
Yeah, Klaus Barbie, perfect example. We trailed those guys from where they left Germany, how they came into Argentina, where they lived, who was in charge, and by that, we brought in this girl, Nadia. She was crucial. She is one of the most important CIA targeters that worked in finding bin Laden and finding Zarqawi that brought down the Al-Qaeda network in 2006. We brought her in specifically to do targeting for these Nazis in the 40s and the 50s and even into the 60s and 70s in South America. And we're
But that makes sense now that I think about it. look for other Nazis and then track back where they came from. That's going to find where Hitler at least landed, and then you can try to track where he went.
Yeah, you can't just look for the man. The man disappeared. South America is a massive, beautiful country. And when you got Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile, Brazil, all of them friendly to fascism, to Nazis on the run.
It's like trying to find a needle in a whole continent.
Yeah, but we just took the whole entire haystack. We burnt that to the ground. And then we just picked up that nice little piece of metal and said, got you.
Wow. We'll be right back with Tim Kennedy, Hunting Hitler, Season 3. Man, Tim Kennedy says the most amazing stuff during the breaks. We got to get him to repeat it now here on air. Tim Kennedy, TimKennedyMMA.com, Twitter, Tim Kennedy MMA, Facebook, Tim Kennedy MMA. Doing so much more. As you said, MMA is just one part of the great work you do in the military. I know it's been in the news. You've re-enlisted. I know that's all classified, so we can't get into it. But you're doing a lot of important work. It's probably better you just lead the conversation so I don't get anything secret you're doing. But right in the middle of it, you're the main investigator of many other great ones on Hunting Hitler, right as the CIA files get declassified, partly on Friday, fully on Saturday, saying, okay, Hitler's alive, 1955, here's the photos, here's where he's at, here's what's going on, what do we do? Nothing happens. You were telling me during the break why nothing happened.
It's a bummer part. You know, when you look at Hitler, he's a deplorable, disgusting, evil human that killed millions and millions of people, 10, 20 million people. And the acts that he committed, we can't overlook and can never be forgiven. Fascism should never exist in any capacity. But at the same time, at the end of the war in 1945, there's no question what the next worry was. The next enemy is going to be communism. And when you have Mao killing, 45 million people, and then Stalin,
that's conservative, by the way.
Yeah. The lowest estimates for Mao in the 45 million is up to 100 million. If you look at Stalin, the lowest estimate is 20 million, up to 65 million. So while, yes, Hitler is a horrible thing, we have the founder.
That's a monster that's already defeated.
Yeah, Hitler's gone. He's dead. Fascism is not going to be rising again, and we know that. But we know the great threat is now the red threat, the communist threat that is trying to infiltrate into Asia. It's trying to make its way into South America.
Already had Hollywood.
Completely by the balls. It is in North America.
Using Soviet sex operatives.
Yeah, and we had to fight with the most vicious fire that we could get our hands on, and that was fascism.
And that's why you have the rat line and paperclip. But then Hitler, obviously, the really bad ones we know, they actually sent to South America. They were kind of on their own. That's what everybody always knew. They made movies about it. But to see the rumors true. And then you're the guy that has the big TV show investigating it.
Yeah. Unless I have Hitler's body, I can't say, here's the smoking gun. This is what happened to Adolf Hitler. What I know is the high-ranking Nazis made it out of South America, or they made it out of Germany into South America. And in South America, while they were there, they were being used for a multitude of reasons, to include fighting communism and socialism. And why was it in the JFK files? Why is anything about Hitler in the JFK files? Well, the JFK files are fighting communism. That's what they're about. If you look at what was happening in Cuba and even maybe the potential assassin, who he was working for, who he was talking to, where he was going to be defecting to, it all comes down to communism. And Hitler is in those files because he and the rest of the Nazi party were a great tool in the fight of communism post-World War II. Fascism's gone. We defeated the Germans.
And we know deals were almost made at the very end of World War II to actually merge with the Germans and take on the Soviets then. Patton wanted to do that. One reason he was assassinated.
Yeah, there's 1945 was the beginning of our next biggest, greatest war, which we're still fighting now, which is the war against communism, the war against socialism.
And MacArthur wanted to end it a few years later in 1953. They removed him when he was about to beat the Chinese in Korea.
We've never truly defeated the communist ideals, and I don't know for what reason. We have had multiple opportunities where we could have crushed them, but we just kind of let them exist. And or it perpetuates, I don't know, the war.
And now Antifa is literally...
They don't deserve that name, by the way.
Because they're not anti-fascist.
No, they're not.
America was.
Yeah, America is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say America. Like, if you want to fight fascism, if you want to fight socialism, if you want to fight communism, just say you're American. Because that's what we are. We don't burn flags. We don't take a knee when the beautiful national anthem.
We don't ban people's free speech. We don't wear black uniforms. That's communism and fascism. So, again, I mean, so obviously they're communists. They know they're communists. A lot of them, though, don't even know who they are. They claim they're going to cause civil war this weekend. I think it's going to be a dud.
God, I mean, it's going to be a dud because they're incapable and they're impetulant little children that they have no idea even what they're fighting for or how to fight. So the fact that they think that they're going to show up and be able to overthrow a government, that there's men like me, and there's thousands, tens of thousands of men like me that love America, that are barrel-chested freedom fighters, that we think that we're just going to allow you to come on some arbitrary day on November 4th and be like, all right, we're going to get rid of this Pence and Trump group. Not going to happen.
And that's my next point. You made a great point in your own words about this Mueller indictment or indictments.
Yeah, it's you want to talk about draining the swamp. You know, everybody's talking about Mueller and like, oh, this special investigator, he's really pulling the lid off now. No, everything that he is showing, he is exposing the true corruption. And the fact that Trump was able to fire this man months after he hired him, realizing that he did not fit in with the values and the ethics and the things that he wants to perpetuate into what is now this beautiful administration. Mueller's really showing that Podesta and the collusion with the Russians had nothing to do with Trump. And the fact that he's making these arrests and these indictments are even more supporting what we already know. That
it's not filing tax forms and then they call that money laundering when he was running whole campaigns in Europe that were pro-America, and then he was the guy that was the paymaster, and then they're claiming those transactions were fraudulent because they didn't file tax forms in the U.S. when they were foreign tax forms.
No, these are any interaction that or collusion that happened was way before Trump, and now the fact that Trump got rid of him before anything ever happened with him is just another indication that there's nothing more, that this is going to be a
exactly. This is their big shot. This is Mueller hit us with everything he's got, and all he's hoping is Manafort and Rich and others get scared and then say, okay, I'll say whatever you want.
Yeah, with what's being revealed about with GPS and Hillary Clinton and what Manafort is revealing that there was multiple opportunities for collusion, but none of it had to do with Trump. All it's doing is exposing all of the other evil things that our politicians were doing. So this is just a great, I don't know if it's strategic, but it might be a flawless execution on Trump and his administration to really show how dirty and evil and corrupt Hillary and the rest of those administrations and politics were.
Well, you were saying to me during the break, they're kind of draining themselves.
Yeah, and inadvertently, they're like, oh, look what we just found. We got a great indictment. It's like, you realize you're blowing the lid off yourself and you're exposing that one Trump.
And that's the thing. I don't just put a positive spin on things to feel good. Everything's starting to go our way. They act like such buffoons. They're involved in such corruption. But I wonder, what's the next level of their temper tantrum? I don't want to be too confident.
No, that's a really scary thing. When about Hitler and Antifa, gun control, anytime you want to get an idea about if the government's lying to you or if a group, anyone is lying to you, look at what their narrative is. Look at what their agenda is. Look at what they would need to happen for propaganda purposes, and then see how that occurred in the news. And I know governments lie to us. Like, we've known it forever. We know that Benghazi didn't happen because some guy in Hollywood made a video. You know, we know that JFK, that communism was involved in his assassination, even though it had been denied for decades. We know that now. So we need to look and say, okay, if there's a reason that they're saying this, if they're trying to draw our attention over here, whether it's a shooting in Las Vegas, whether it's riots in the street on November 4th, it's going to be for a reason we have to be ready for.
Let's talk about that when we come back on the other side with Tim Kennedy. Stay with us. From the front lines, we had the exclusive on the JFK files. We had the exclusive on the indictments. But it's not that we're that good. It's that mainstream media is so horrible, people don't trust them to give them exclusives. Just briefly, if you want to support the broadcast, we have specials on vitamin D3, Winter Sun, ending tomorrow, 50% off. Colloidal silver, 50% off. 50% off a bunch of other great products like Anthroplex, that's stamina, libido, energy, you name it. These are just known high-quality staples at discounted prices. InfoWarsStore.com. We've got a lot of new T-shirts, a lot of other T-shirts that are basically limited edition that we're not about to manufacture any more of. The current Hillary for Prison 2017, that's about to sell out. We're running this for 1 month. Anti-fascist, anti-communist, InfoWars.com.
Oh, we take that.
Yeah, we take the we'll tell folks they can't see on radio.
Oh, yeah. So it's an anti-fascist and an anti-communist shirt. So I'm just pro-America, which means I'm pretty much all against everything else.
Exactly, but it looks like the Antifa logo.
Yeah, it does.
So it's going to really trigger them.
Yeah, God, I love triggering them.
So that's only 1 month. InfoWarsStore.com. Thank you all for your support. Take advantage of those specials. Tim, I asked you during the break, 3rd season of Hunting Hitler. You can't give me any secrets. You were down there for months shooting this. And jungles, you name it. Just the other seasons, finding the U-boats and finding these big German mansions in the middle of these gorgeous mountains. In the middle, and people saying, yes, Hitler's here, and underground bunkers. And we know a bunch of Nazis ran there. We know 36,000 came to the U.S. via the rat line, most out of Argentina. They've got Hollywood movies about the boys from Brazil with Gregory Peck, where they're down there making Hitler clones. Makes me ask, you know, what's going to come true next here. Just incredible job. But you gave me the inside scoop, not violating your NDA, but you were telling me you're on the fence. It was pretty sophisticated what you said. Once you said it, it all clicked. What do you really think?
I think that the plan was in place for Adolf Hitler to get out. I think that they had made every, you know, if he's number 1 command, his number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they would have put in place how to exfil him out of Germany. And they had a Ford group that were sent ahead of time to start preparing for his arrival in South America. And we know those guys. We know the Barbies, the Skorzynskis, the Adolf Eichmanns, and some of them were caught, some of them weren't. The ones that were caught, that was by design, and those were in deals with the Israelis, for example, and the IDF caught Eichmann. But it was always for a reason. And at the end of the war, in April 1945, what happened to Adolf Hitler? What was his demise? I don't know. But I know that the process of how he was going to get out was perfectly executed, and that's what we dug into for season 3.
Incredible. You guys have found the Nazi escape base in Argentina.
Without a doubt. We found the files. Joseph Mengele, I have in my hands his hand signature on the ship that he boarded, the roster of...
Congratulations, by the way. This is the stuff I grew up as a kid wondering about, and my grandfather, who was in the military, bitching about Nazis in Texas. My mom going, he's a little eccentric. Yeah. Like, this is all lore, and now it's being proven.
There's no doubt. There's no question. This is proof. This is fact. I mean, his own signature in multiple different forms, his own visa, how he came into Argentina and where he went, his marriage certificate. Like, we found everything. And there's no...
Well, exactly. Why was the angel of death protected? And then you'd have some guard at a death camp. Fine, send him to prison. But why is the guard sent to prison and then Mengele could run around?
So I believe that Joseph Mengele was in charge of regions of South America, that he was kind of in the pragmatic organization, the sailor organization. He was in charge of regions of South America for the fascists fighting the communists. You know, so those that don't know, Joseph Mengele, the angel of death, one of the most disgusting humans ever to
medical experiments on thousands.
Injecting blue into little kids' eyes to see if...
Freezing them to death.
Taking twins and torturing one to see if... I mean, just like, you can't even process. And this man escaped and lived into old age and died of old age in South America. And a
lot of it was from my research, they had trillions of days money hidden, and so they parlayed that into deep state groups. So a few Nazis got busted here and there when they weren't coughing up the goods.
Yeah, but not anybody crucial, not anybody important, not anybody. The ones that got caught, they had either served their purpose and they had kind of expired their usefulness, or they were such an asset that they were able to be traded and exposed and handed off, like Adolf Eichmann, when he was given to the Israelis. It was for a reason, and a reason to create a better, stronger partnership with the Israeli intelligence agency when we handed him to them. So this, we know, we discovered the route lines. We found who was facilitating, who was involved, who was there, you know, and that communism, imagine that, was at the root of a lot of it. And there's no question what these guys did after that.
Wow. And I got to say, this has been going on like 3 years. Or how long's Hunting Hitler been going on?
Yeah, the investigation's been going on for 3.5 years now. 2
hit seasons, which the first was amazing, historic in Europe. The second I thought was incredible. The third, you're telling me, really delivers. Well, the others already did. How it's crazy to have this come out in the JFK files 30 days before Your show's about to hit. Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, History Channel called up, the director of the CIA and said, "Hey, could you please release these for us?" No, I mean,
is it synchronicity or serendipity?
Yeah, I don't know. It was fate.
Let's just bring him in briefly, because with this next segment, you're going to be co-hosting with us. Dr. Jerome Corsi, best-selling author, worked for the State Department and a lot of other important work, fighting the globalist. I know you're an expert on the Nazis as well. One area of the JFK files, I know you knew JFK yourself personally. What do you make of Trump really delivered, in my view? These files are basically unredacted. No wonder they didn't want these to come out. These are incredible.
By the way, congratulations on the series. I also wrote a book called Hunting Hitler, which did very well, preceded your series. Same name, Hunting Hitler.
I didn't even know that. Of course, he's done everything.
Yeah, I love it.
And we agree. I mean, I came to the same conclusion. And of course, I didn't have all the documents you had, but I have enough of the documents to know that the FBI was hunting Hitler in Argentina.
By the way, this is serendipity, synchronicity. I've known Corsi 20 years. I didn't even know he'd written this. I'm now in the Twilight Zone. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I've admired the work you've done on the Hunting Hitler HBO series. I think it's spectacular. I wish I'd had the research budget to go down and do what you guys have done. But you've really broken the case wide open. And now that we have these caches of documents coming out of the FBI on what really happened to Hitler, I think it's indisputable.
I was about to say, though, I knew you were an expert on Hitler and stuff. I'd forgotten. Remember years ago that you'd actually written that book. You'd mentioned it. You've done so much. It's just crazy. InfoWars reporter, Dr. Corsi, honored to have him here. But how crazy is it without me even knowing? I just thought, hey, we ought to have you on today when Tim Kennedy's here. And then it's just all. Well, but separately, what do you make of Trump? Because we'll get into the whole indictments with Tim and you in the next segment. Why is Trump doing this? This is so hardcore because the media is spinning it that he didn't do anything. Well, the other presidents blocked it. He didn't.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Donald Trump fully appreciates that he's facing a deep state threat himself. And this gets clear today. And I've been writing about this all morning about the Manafort.
You've been saying for 6 months they're going to indict Manafort, and then next they're going to go after Trump.
That's right, and Trump's got to watch it because the Mueller and the FBI, they're crooked prosecutors, and Trump is going to release the files. And I think he's not going to be satisfied here. There's also thousands of pages that have been released before that are still redacted, and we're going to encourage Trump to go back over the whole file and release everything unredacted. And it might not hurt to send us into the CIA to look around and ask a few questions. I mean, I'm sure that there are yet documents that are hidden and squirreled away that we might never get at. But this treasure trove we're getting is making it absolutely clear that when the assassination occurred, the FBI, the CIA, and Johnson were all in a rush of judgment to declare that Lee Harvey Oswald was the
even CBS
shooter.
Has the headline that Hoover told folks, we're going to say it's a lone gunman, get that out. Tim Kennedy's our guest. Popping in is Dr. Jerome Corsi, who I had no idea. I'd forgotten. He's written so many best-selling books, wrote Hunting Hitler. We have the host of Hunting Hitler here. So this is true Twilight Zone. We'll be back. Stay with us. Infowars.com, newswars.com, prisonplanet.com. Those are censored sites. Ladies and gentlemen, we got breaking news so big it makes my head spin. Everything they do to us, they then say we're doing. They're a bunch of Russian agents sold out to every country that'll buy them off. They say we are. Well, now, shock video on Infowars.com. This just broke. Trump supporter mows down dreamers in Soros-funded ad. It's a little black kid and a little Muslim girl. As a Muslim girl, she wouldn't be allowed outside.
And she also wouldn't be going to school, so sorry.
Exactly. And you've got a guy with a Gadsden flag license plate, and then he's got the name of a guy, Gillespie, who's running for Congress on the back of it with a rebel flag, and he runs them over. And they claim tenuously that they can use what happened in Virginia, in Charlottesville, as the pretext when all three leaders of the white supremacist groups turned out were working for Obama just a year ago. I want to roll this shocking ad with children in fear porn, in murder porn, being run over on America's streets by the evil white man. And then we've got, I forgot to show it, we've got the Austin Chronicle, just to show, this is this week everywhere, every American city. It says, armed white male. That's the new Halloween horror person, Halloween mask on the cover. So talk about Hitlerian propaganda. It's happening. Here is the new George Soros ad. Nice little kid playing basketball.
Exercising, that's good.
Here comes the rebel flag. Total race war is what they're pushing. Poor Hispanic child has just been running. Here comes the truck. Here comes the white man. Man, Soros is a joke. They're running. It's Gillespie running for Congress. Run, the poor little Muslim girl. Of course, it's the Muslims using the cars everywhere to run people over. But again, that's what you do. You project it onto America and the evil white man. And now the big Ford heavy duty. Is that a Ford or is that a...
Yeah, it's Ford.
Big Ford.
That's his nightmare.
It was just a nightmare. Oh, poor...
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream? Latino Victory Fund paid for it and is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
It's like, yeah, well, go to an Islamic country and you really will have that happen to you. I mean, this is next level.
At best. Like, you could wish that little girl, I bet she wished that she got run over by a truck, because otherwise she'd be sentenced to a lifelong of enslavement. You know, she couldn't go to school. She wouldn't have a backpack. She wouldn't be walking down the street. None of those things would be happening in any of the places that I go and work.
Her genitals would be cut off.
Oh, it's complete mutilation. So every instance of whether it's London Bridge or it's France during the Patriot Parade, these have been radical extremists hopping in vehicles and running over people. I'll tell you what, if you're scared and you're a Hispanic Latino and you're walking down the street and you're worried about somebody coming and getting you, I'm driving a big white Ford truck right now. Run to my truck. You're going to be safe.
And by the way, get your own Second Amendment. You're an American.
Here's mine right here. Yeah, that's how it works. But my best friend sitting in there, he also drives a massive big Ford truck. Run to him.
I do too. I'm driving a silver one.
No, like
Ford should be pissed off by this ad.
I'd be infuriated. But what I'm saying is the people, the freedom-loving Americans, those are the ones that I've put my life on the line multiple times.
Well, this just shows how desperate they are.
I do it right now.
It's incredible. You were pointing out that you think this will drain the swamp. They've bitten off more than they can chew. It looks horrible. They're totally above with corruption. Dr. Jerome Corsi, your story's top linked on drudgereport.com, dealing with the fact that FBI reliance on discredited fusion GPS Russia dossier threatens Manafort prosecution. In the next 5 minutes, give us the data boil down, the inside scoop we broke yesterday, who would be indicted today, about what's really happening here.
Yeah, and also I meant to say the History Channel for your special, and
sure,
I've taped the shows and watched them multiple times. We're in complete agreement. You're doing a job. Let me break this down. What has happened is that the FBI went and used this fusion GPS dossier, which they paid for, to the FISA court as the basis to get a wiretap, electronic surveillance, on Manafort for well over a year. And they didn't tell the FISA court that the FBI had paid for this or that the Democrats had paid for it, Hillary's campaign, Perkins Coie, the DNC, running it through Perkins Coie so the Hillary would have deniability and the DNC would have deniability.
But that's flat out illegal, isn't it?
It violates campaign law, yeah.
Yeah, it violates campaign laws. And from the FBI's point of view, if they obtained a fraudulent FISA court warrant and they then proceeded to do electronic surveillance on Mueller, and by the way, leaked it to CNN, which again is another crime. I mean, these are at least
and Comey admits he did it to the New York Times. Let me ask you this. Did they speed it up because all the news came out? Did they speed it up because all the Uranium One came out last week? Did they speed this up to cover?
Yeah, I see. My point is all this FISA court will be thrown out. In other words, this is a very serious impediment for Mueller.
So your point is this is unadmissible because it's based on a fraud.
Yes, exactly. And so now the whole thing is Mueller was, I think, rushed by the Hillary people saying, we've got to change the news cycle, so you better indict somebody and you better do it now. I don't think they were ready to indict Manafort.
So you agree with Tim Kennedy, the swamp has now really stuck its arm in the wood chipper?
Yes, absolutely. And they're now reacting from a scared and frightened position because they know that if they don't change the news cycle. Now, the other thing that happened this afternoon was really important is that Tony Podesta, stepped down from his firm. And remember, we were the first to report that Tony Podesta was working for the same group in Ukraine that Manafort was working for. And right after we wrote that report last week or a week before, Mueller announced suddenly he was investigating Podesta.
That's right. And now, again, the Podesta brother is pulled out, and he's a front for John Podesta. This is a big deal.
Yeah. It's a huge deal, and it shows the ultimate corruption of the FBI, the determination to go on this witch hunt, because basically there's no tie between these so-called problems that maybe Mueller had with taking money and wire transfers and how he handled it. Although I suspect Manafort had very good legal counsel when he did all of that. And I've
read the documents. I'm no foreign elections lawyer, but he's operating in the good graces of the U.S. government. He's paying for the whole campaign operation. He sets up companies there and does it. It looks like what everybody else does. It's obviously he knows he's under scrutiny.
Well, and so far it's being presented by the mainstream media. Like they found the hatchet that committed the murder in the bed with the killer, and it's got blood all over it. Well, that's why we have trials, because so far you're just hearing the government's version.
Well, I mean, number one, criminals wouldn't be transferring money in public ledgers that were already given to Congress, as they admit they SWAT teamed them just for the aesthetics for the jury to say, oh, look, we found this with a SWAT team raid.
And by the way, we don't have nearly as clear records for all the money laundering that the Clintons were doing. And I also pointed this out, that the Russians were money laundering to Clinton Podesta through this company that was in the Netherlands, and it shows up in the Panama Papers, and through this Metcom bank.
But let's interview her. Oh, I'm sorry. Her car blew up a week and a half ago. What does that signify, some of the witnesses being murdered?
It's been nonstop. I jokingly, with a TV show that's coming out, I'm going to be doing some really dangerous jobs. And I joked that, maybe I should just go work for the Clintons because nobody dies more than them.
In fact, do a plug. You didn't want to talk about it, but tell folks about your new show. You're not just co-hosting on History. You got your own show coming out. Tell folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do the most dangerous jobs in the world, and I can see if I can survive doing them. But it's the bread and butter of being American. But I think the most
and that would be working for the Clintons.
That would be, because not the bread and butter of being American. Because if you're
no, but working for the Clintons would be most dangerous.
They kill everybody. I cannot count on hands, feet, your hands, my feet, on any of these papers, the number of people they've had executed. And every time there has been a leak or an opportunity for somebody to reveal something about the Clintons, they die.
And let me ask you both this question, because I mean this. She calls me dark heart, evil, all this stuff. Why am I still alive? Because we're in the light? Or
yeah, man, it is. You're actually a hard guy to reach. You're a hard guy to you have said so much. It's not the threat of doing it. You're already doing it. And if you died, if they came and killed you, if your car blew up, it would be a pretty difficult thing to not tie that back to the people that want to.
That's what I've been told, is it highlights everything I've done, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead they just want to assassinate our names.
Yeah. The character attacks is the best way to get to
all right, Dr. Corsi, we've got Owen Schroyer in an hour coming up. Jack Posobiec, great patriot. He's going to be hosting the next hour. But please get on that show. Tell us more about what's coming up and what's unfolding, because I know you're right at the tip of the spear on this whole investigation. But let me just ask you briefly when we come back, how is it going for them? Because I don't want to be too positive, but it seems even in mainstream news, you've even got Dershowitz and you've even got CNN reporters and people. You got Panetta, former head of the CIA, saying this looks criminal what Hillary did. What does that mean? Are the rats leaving the sinking ship? Is this too late for Mueller? Stay with us. All right, I've been pressuring Tim Kennedy, host of so many shows, History Channel, Hunting Hitler, you name it, his own show, Hazard Pay. He's about to go shoot it. Maybe the last time I get to shake this guy's hand, you were telling me during the break what you're going to be doing. And from all your Green Beret operations and other secret things you've done, this sounds, and the UFC sounds easy compared to this. Good luck, buddy. We're going to be praying for you. You didn't want to talk about it, but tell folks just briefly before we finish up with you and Dr. Corsi, what's going to happen on Hazard Pay?
Well, so I love America. And Americans, I think, are the greatest men and women on the planet, and we do some pretty amazing jobs. So I'm going to go and do those jobs. I'm going to do the jobs that are integrated and interwoven into the fabric of our society that people don't even think about. You know,
the definition of rugged individualism?
That's right. Yeah, individual responsibility. Like we forged our existence out of the forest, fighting Indians, French, and then later the British to make America great. And then we kind of lost that. Well, I'm going to revisit it, and I'm going to show just exactly how amazing Americans are and the jobs that they do. And
give them a sneak peek.
So some of the jobs I'll go deep sea diving and, try mix stuff and weld some oil pipes. I might jump out of some airplanes into fires to make fire breaks. Flying some experimental jets that, people take for granted that you just get on a plane and fly from LA to San Francisco or to New York, that somebody had to build that.
So you're going to Chuck Yeager it. You're going to do some even wilder stuff like disarm bombs.
Yeah.
You're signing some major waivers for this.
Yeah, I am. Well, if people stopped trying to blow up Americans, we wouldn't have to have EOD guys. But that's just been a common thread.
Wow, when is it scheduled to air?
It's fast. It'll be end of January. Will be the first episode of Hazard Pay.
Hazard Pay, first look. Buddy, you are awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in to give us that big first look at season 3 of Hunting Hitler.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Stay right there. We're over in 3 minutes. Dr. Corsi, closing comments. You're going to be on coming up during War Room today with Owen Schroyer, but big breaking news.
Well, I think that this is just the beginning. The Democrats are in panic because the Manafort indictment does not include any charges of collusion. It includes some financial issues that deal with 2004 to 2006. Manafort, I'm sure, can explain how he handled those transactions. I'm sure a lot of legal help. But there's no allegations whatsoever that Manafort colluded with the Russians or that Trump did. Whereas with Hillary, with this dossier, with the foundation, with the uranium, with pay that's gone on, money laundering to Podesta and to Hillary, collusion is all over the board with the Democrats. They obviously colluded with the Russians, lied about it, and covered it up. That's what's coming to fore. I'll be very surprised if Mueller's around to actually prosecute Manafort. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire case gets dropped.
So instead of a nothing burger, we have a new term, a Mueller burger.
Yes, that's right. It's a Mueller burger. It's supposed to be a Russian collusion, and we are now. Manafort didn't properly account for certain things 10 years ago, and I'm sure he had excellent expert advice, and I want to hear his lawyers explain why he did, because I doubt if there's any crime there at all.
What happened to the whole Constitution bit where you're innocent until proven guilty? I mean, it seems like every opportunity we are trying to find a way to destroy the Constitution, where we have an indictment. That does not mean that this man is guilty. That means that the charges have been brought, but we're just throwing.
See, this is also Mueller's technique. Mueller, Comey, I've been pointing it out in this case of Billy Walters. I'm going to be writing more about this. We have proof that this corrupt Department of Justice tries to win their cases in the press. We have a case of this gambler who is in prison right now for insider trading, and for 4 years, systematically, the FBI
leaked info to the press.
Wall Street Journal.
Well, this is their Waterloo. America's awake, so nothing they do is going to turn it around. Thank you, Dr. Corsi. Coming up is Jack Posobiec hosting, and then the War Room coming up with Owen Schroyer, and Dr. Corsi will be there as well. Tim Kennedy, thanks for coming in with the exclusive. Yeah. Wow, amazing. Can't wait to see the third season of Hunting Hitler and more. I'm Alex Jones. This is The House You Built. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Jack Posobiec coming to you live from here in Washington, D.C. I am situated very close to the swamp itself, where today is a very, very swampy day for the United States, and a very swampy day where the swamp is trying very hard to smear President Trump, to drag him down into it, but we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let anything stop this movement, stop our president, and stop the reawakening of liberty and actual democracy and justice in this country that has been sweeping the nation since the president's election almost exactly 1 year ago. What we know today is that charges were filed against Paul Manafort and his deputy, Rick Gates. Alex broke those charges yesterday and actually on Saturday even. But of course, the mainstream media will not give him credit for the scoop, even though he broke out specifically the names of who would be charged today. First to do so, but of course, never given the credit from the mainstream media. We are also hearing indications that charges will be filed against other people associated either with the Trump campaign, such as General Flynn. There's a rumor going around about that, but I would classify it very much as a rumor before anything takes place, as well as charges potentially against the Podesta group, who Paul Manafort himself worked for while working with Ukraine. And now I want to also break down a little bit something about these charges on Paul Manafort, because you see, the left has spent the last, I don't know, year screaming Russia, 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 Russia at us. However, if you go through and read the actual indictment, and I've read all 31 pages of it, 12 counts, he pled not guilty. If you go and look at a map or read anywhere in the indictment, none of it has to do with Russia. The entire 12 counts have to do with either Ukraine or condos and different real estate properties that he has in different parts of the United States, New York, Florida, Virginia. So I don't know if CNN has ever seen a map or paid attention into what's going on in foreign policy for the last generation or so, but Ukraine is not part of Russia, and I've actually made a new geography guide for CNN that I'd like to put up for them so we can all go and double check. There's Russia, you can see Moscow, and then there just to the next part of it is not Russia. That is Ukraine. So CNN really has a lot of questions to answer for themselves because they told us that all of this was about Russia. In fact, Mueller's mandate, his purview, is only to look into Trump connections with the Russian state and whether or not there was collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. That is why this investigation was brought up. That is why Mueller was hired. That is the specific purview of his investigation as handed to him by Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. I'm going to be breaking down a little bit about that here. But why was it then that the charges were brought dealing with Ukraine and yet nothing to do with Russia? And now they're going to try to paint it over by saying, oh, well, there were people in the Ukraine that were secretly working for Russia. So you see, it all leads back to Russia. But again, the charges have nothing to do specifically with Russia. So that is what we're left with today. This fiction, this fable, the Russian collusion delusion, as Roger Stone, a good colleague and friend of ours, who was recently shut down by Twitter, likes to say, because that is what it's been all along. There was no Russian collusion between President Trump, his campaign, and the Russian state. There was no collusion between Trump and Russian intelligence. There was no collusion between Trump and Vladimir Putin. What we've seen again and again, as laid out by this investigation and other independent investigations, is that any collusion, if it took place, was between the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton and her organizations and her personal swamp in which she inhabits. We know she is the swamp creature of Swamp Clinton. That is the one with Russian ties and $145 million in rubles floating around in the Clinton Foundation, with another $500,000 going to Bill Clinton around the sale of uranium-1. This is, and I know this smacks of whataboutism, so I'm sure people are going to be sitting at home and saying, well, Jack, this is just whataboutism. The charges are on Mueller. The charges on Mueller. Okay, right. But again, the charges from Mueller on Manafort were about Ukraine. They don't mention Russia. What instead, the thing that no one seems to be looking into today, and the entire mainstream media is bereft of, is any investigation into the Clintons' organization and efforts with the Russian state, the Clintons' organization to fund the dossier, this dossier, which was used, we're learning more and more now, by the FBI, by James Comey and others there, to open a wiretapping investigation of not only Paul Manafort, but others within the Trump campaign. As Trump famously tweeted out back in March, I've just learned that my wires were being tapped in Trump Tower. This is what I've told Now, I've talked to a lot of sources here in Washington, D.C., and New York, and other places about this situation, and there's a lot of things to break down. Why were these charges filed today? Why do they seem, and to anyone, any legal expert who's looked at this, they're saying two things. They're saying, look, number one, this doesn't match the narrative at all of what the left and what the mainstream media has been saying all year about Russian collusion. It does not match that. It matches not acknowledging certain payments for work done in Ukraine, which was years and years prior to the Trump campaign, and tax documents filed for certain real estate charges. So tax charges for real estate, again, does not fit the narrative of collusion with Russia. Plus, can someone please explain to me, first of all, what part of Russia is Ukraine in? And can they also explain to me what part of Paul Manafort's condos have to do with Russia helping Trump win the election? I'm not really sure what the connection is there. I know one of the condos was in Manhattan, and I'm fairly certain that Manhattan, even though Trump is from there, they did not vote for him in any meaningful way. So these are a lot of the questions that we're going to break down today, a lot of the questions that we have, but really, what seems to be the situation is that these charges and the bringing forward of these charges, the making public of it, was brought early in the timetable because of the massive and damning revelations that the FBI had the Uranium One deal under investigation all throughout the Obama administration. They knew what Clinton was up to. They know that the FBI informant, who is due to testify in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee very soon, is going to have damning testimony, which will likely bring up the names of Robert Mueller, former FBI director at the time, and Rod Rosenstein, who was the U.S. attorney for Maryland at the time, that looked into so much of this because one of the firms was in Maryland. So you're seeing how a lot of these players in the DOJ and FBI are tied very intimately to the Uranium One deal. And then suddenly there's this massive leak from the Mueller team to CNN on Friday night, right at the same time that the New York Times piece comes out on the Russian dossier being funded by Hillary and Never Trumper Paul Singer. Now we're also seeing a leak to CNN specifically of charges to be brought on Monday, trying to suck up all the air in the room, trying to suck up the entire conversation, change the conversation away from ties to Mueller and his financial ties that we were also learning about that he has with Russia through various hedge funds and companies that he's invested in. And we're also seeing leaks from the Mueller campaign, or excuse me, the Mueller team, to so many people. From what I've heard from my sources, that Mueller's team was blabbing all over DC this entire weekend, trying to do everything they could to prime the pump for this morning's charges, which any legal advisor has looked into and said, this is really light stuff. This is basic tax issues. This is filing stuff. This has nothing to do with electioneering. It has nothing to do with collusion. They're actually not sure why the charges were brought so early. So it seems in the analysis of many that these charges were ramped up. The timetable was brought forward in an effort to change the headlines. Well, we're not going to change the headlines here on the show today. We're not going to cut it down. We are going to continue to break this down for the rest of the hour. We're going to get into a few more sources. I want to talk about Rod Rosenstein's role in all of this, Jim Comey's role in all of this, and we're going to explain just why the charges were brought today, and we're going to explain not only that, but what we can do about it. Stick with it here. We'll be right back on InfoWars, big fourth hour hosted by myself, Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec coming in live today, fourth hour, massive fourth hour here on what is going to go down for the left as a massive failure of a day. I really think, because today they did not get what they wanted. Today they were told was going to be the day that Donald Trump would be taken down, that impeachment would be in the wind, that everybody would be thinking that the Trump election would be negated and relegated to a footnote of history, that somehow, some way they could change reality and allow allow Hillary Clinton to win. And you actually go on Twitter at this sometimes, and it's kind of creepy, but they'll actually go and put tweets up talking about these fantasies they have about Hillary Clinton being appointed president by some arcane policy process, and it takes them like hundreds of lines of it seems like some kind of code they're putting together to make it that so that she would become president, all the hoops they would have to jump through legally. And it just goes to show you how much these people don't live in reality, don't live in the real world. Well, folks, we're trying to explain to you what's happening here in reality. But in order to do that, we have to explain this false reality that CNN and others would try to have you believe. Now, one very specific actor that I'd like to discuss here in this segment is Rod Rosenstein. He's currently the Deputy Attorney General under Jeff Sessions. Prior to that, he was the U.S. Attorney for Maryland. He's actually one of the United States' longest-serving U.S. attorneys, so very respected, a lot of credibility in terms of that legal background, and he was considered as being extremely popular when he went through his confirmation hearings because he was able to get Republicans and Democrats both on his side. But what it turns out is he's someone who's been working very closely with Mueller all along. Now, to take people back on this, Rosenstein is the one who wrote the letter that specifically allowed for President Trump to fire Jim Comey. He wrote out the entire memo that laid out the specific failures of Comey with the Clinton email investigation and other email investigations he was part of. And all of this is explaining the backstory of how we got to today and the Manafort charges, how these Manafort charges came to be and where they come from. So Rosenstein writes this memo and says, and basically supports the idea of Trump firing Comey. Sessions, at this point, has already recused himself of any involvement in a Russia investigation. And so Sessions decides that he thinks that because Rosenstein is an experienced and credible prosecutor, that it should be no problem for Rosenstein himself to overview any investigation into these matters, because Sessions, as we know, played a part in the Trump campaign. And so it would be considered improper for him to be investigating his own campaign, right? And a campaign that he played a part of. So he steps down, he recuses himself, allows Rosenstein to take over the investigation. However, Rosenstein, seemingly in a pre-planned move, decides to not investigate the matter himself or run it himself. He then took the bold and unprecedented step of naming a special prosecutor, the special prosecutor by the name of Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller, who was prior to that someone who worked very closely with Rosenstein while in the U.S. Attorney's Office there in Maryland, and someone who directly gave over power of the FBI to James Comey. So Mueller is the one who is basically above the entire fray in all of this, and he was working with the Uranium One, had that under investigation, most likely knew in some form of the Russian dossier due to his ties with Jim Comey, his very close friendship that's been described as the two of them worked together, moved their way up in the ranks through the FBI with each other. So it makes no mistake that is why Mueller himself was named the special prosecutor here. Normally when a special prosecutor is named, you pick someone who has no connection to politics, has no connection to anything in either campaign, either party, someone who can be seen as neutral. Well, now we found that Mueller, very specifically, was not chosen because of impartiality or neutrality. He was chosen because he would do the dirty lifting for Rosenstein and for the deep state. Mueller, of course, they're now charging Manafort with conspiracy. They're charging Gates with conspiracy. So who are the actual conspiracy theorists when it comes down to it? Now Mueller is claiming that there were conspiracy, and basically this is a very salacious word that's been used as a very sensational word. What it comes down to is tax documents that were filed in many ways complying with different forms of disclosure statements for LLCs, and a lot of this we could go into that, but honestly, it's quite an in-depth discussion, and I'm not a tax scholar by any means, but from what I've talked to with my legal sources is that a lot of what Manafort did on the tax front while it does seem complicated, is not necessarily illegal, and that his lawyers remain confident with their plea of not guilty today, that they will not be eventually convicted of this because they believe that it was trumped up charges, to pardon the phrase, but actually being done specifically to comply with U.S. laws, simply using the laws that were passed by different Congresses, signed by different presidents, all laws that were available to them. Manafort actually said months ago, when a lot of this started to come up, The Intercept had an article on this back in February. One of the things Manafort said was, I hate to disappoint the Russia conspiracy theorists, but this is simply how real estate is done in New York City. Everybody does this. It's business as usual. So if you don't like it, change the laws. But don't say that I did something wrong just because it's different than from how most people do it. That being said, Rosenstein knew that all of this was out. Rosenstein knew that this situation was going out there. To call it money laundering, again, The Intercept's article, it's a great article. It details all this stuff. A lot of this was known. It was known the day that he signed on with the Trump campaign. It was known that all throughout the campaign. He then left the campaign after getting the delegates. Remember, Paul Manafort was not involved with the Trump campaign at the start. He was not involved with the Trump campaign back in 2015. He was only involved with the Trump campaign during the RNC and a little bit thereafter. He actually was fired from the Trump campaign after more details about his Ukrainian connections came out. So this is the specific reason that Donald Trump fired him from the campaign. So for all of these Democrats and everyone on the left who wants to say that Manafort is going to bring down Trump and all this stuff is going to bring down Trump, well, actually, all of this stuff is going back to 2012, 2013, when if you actually look at what was going on, he was working not only for Yanukovych over in Ukraine, but was also working with the Podesta Group and Uranium One. So now we're hearing that the charges and more investigations that might be coming out could actually have to do with Tony Podesta. Tony Podesta, who just stepped down as the head of the Podesta Group today while under this investigation. So let's keep an eye on this whole situation, because the idea that Trump is going somewhere in all of this, I think, is a bridge too far, to say the least at this point. Tony Podesta now in the crosshairs of all of this. Democrat, Clinton supporter, Tony Podesta. Stick with it right here, because we are cutting through the narrative. We are breaking this all down. The empire is on the run. Hour 4 InfoWars. I'm Jack Posobiec, your host today. Stick here. Jack Posobiec here in the driver's seat. Hour 4 of the Alex Jones Show today on InfoWars, breaking down everything that's going on in Washington, D.C., breaking down so many of these scandals upon scandals that are now being uncovered through the Department of Justice, scandals regarding not our president, not anything to do with our movement, our pro-America movement, but actually to do with the past administration, and scandals that had to do with the past of how Washington, D.C., look, we knew Washington, D.C. was a swamp. President Trump laid it out. He laid it out and said it's time to drain the swamp. So all we're doing now is finding out just how much of a swamp it is. Is it really shocking to anybody that a D.C. lobbyist was working with Ukrainian officials, was working with other foreign officials? This doesn't make any difference to anything that our president said on the campaign trail. But we can't do this by ourselves, folks. We need your help. We need your support, and that's why I want to direct you to InfoWarsStore.com. It is so important and imperative for you to go to there and help us out, help support the Info War. There are so many specials on sale this week. Now, just as we move into the later weeks, the later winter season this year of 2017, Winter Sun is now 50% off. Winter Sun D3, the temperatures, they are dropping low, but of course the prices are now also dropping as well. 50% off, down to $17.47. Haven't seen Alex put this one on sale in the past, so he's dropping it out because he knows that people get these products seasonally, and Winter Sun is a seasonal product. It's your best source of vitamin D3, and if you're going to go in those, Other products that you might use only might give you the D2. This one actually goes so far as to give pure vitamin D3. So it's promoting bones, it's boosting your immune system. This is exactly what you need as we get into those winter months. When you're getting out of bed early in the morning, you're feeling it. You're feeling, people always say, I feel the cold in my bones, right? That is exactly what Winter Sun Vitamin D goes to help you with as the cold is creeping in. These gives the vitamins and everything directly to your bones, to your health for what exactly you need. And again, it's now been extended, the Brain Force special, the Supercharged special. So they've extended it. I know we talked about this last week, but it's been expanded. It's been expanded into this week. So the Brain Force Plus Supercharged special, 50%, another 50% off, all the way down to $19.96. Brain Force, as you know, one of the highest rated and best selling InfoWars Life formulas that has been on the market since they've had it out. Over 5,000 reviews, almost a 5.0 rating. It's 4.6, probably one of the highest rated, and that's over 5,000 reviews. And those are verified reviews. That is not just people, trolls getting in there. Those are people that have actually bought the product and actually used it. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, if that's something that you want to promote your own mental health, your clarity, your energy, to get you going, to get you motivated to go about your day, to actually read some of these crazy headlines. I actually read some of these headlines and laugh. Brain Force is the way to go about it. So I read some of these headlines and laugh, but I also do read some headlines and weep. So the one headline today that someone actually passed me. So we read about Kevin Spacey. And Kevin Spacey's these accusations, and then his, of course, admissions about unwanted sexual advances on a 14-year-old. From Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey lauded as a man of the left, and now has apologized. So he simply admitted that this is true. He's admitted that there was that sexual assault did take place, this alleged misconduct. He's apologized for it. And this same misconduct, of course, he is now trying to paint it into a situation where he's come out and said, well, today he's decided to also come out as a homosexual. So he's trying to get ahead of those headlines, accusing him of pedophilia, accusing him of unwanted sexual assault of a 14-year-old. And he's saying, well, I'm homosexual. Well, actually, there's a lot of people in DC and a lot of people in the LGBT community that don't want to hear that. They said, don't confuse or conflate. Even Zachary Quinto, another Hollywood actor, said, excuse me, just because someone's LGBT, that doesn't mean they're a pedophile. So why would you conflate the two? Why would you try to spin this as a way of breaking away from what you're done? Because he's trying to save his career at this point. He's trying to save his own career prospects, his own legacy, as the entire Hollywood spins around the entire drain as the Pedowood scandal extremely goes forward. And one thing that I brought up earlier today that we found out is that, yes, Kevin Spacey and Bill Clinton flew together on the Lolita Express to Jeffrey Epstein's island down there in the Caribbean, that they not only flew on the plane at separate times, but also flew the plane together. Kevin Spacey and Bill Clinton, their friendship goes back many years. This is something that people know all about, that it has been very much in the open. These charges about Jeffrey Epstein, these accusations, he has been convicted of this. Keep in mind, these are not just accusations of Jeffrey Epstein. This has been proven. So now Kevin Spacey, and we broke this story many months ago, years ago, when the Lolita Express logs came out, when everybody knew this was happening, people knew what was going on. People said, Kevin Spacey is there flying on the same plane with Bill Clinton. Why is nobody investigating this? Why is nobody bringing this out? Because Spacey was seen as one of the heads of Hollywood. And then, of course, they make a movie about Spacey being the president, essentially being the leader of the United States in real life, which, as a lot of people basically see as they watch the TV show House of Cards. Well, now we're finding out how their House of Cards is crumbling because of the ties of Kevin Spacey to Bill Clinton, his ties to Washington elitist groups now accused of pedophilia. And one piece that I wanted to bring up as well, Bryan Singer. Bryan Singer, he's a director in Hollywood. He was involved with the X-Men movies. He was involved in so much of this. And this is an article I found from the Hollywood Reporter 2014 that if you dig down in this, his accuser, very, very big when this came out, he was accusing Bryan Singer of taking him to adult parties, a 14-year-old, of raping him, of having unwanted sexual assault, just like with Kevin Spacey. If you dig down into this article, it actually shows that his accuser, Egan, sent certified return receipt letters to none other than Robert Mueller at the FBI building, FBI's J. Edgar Hoover building, Washington, D.C., and yet they were completely ignored. So Robert Mueller was all the way back 2014 or prior to then, at least we found out in 2014, April 21st at the news conference, that Robert Mueller knew about Pedogate, that Robert Mueller, the FBI director, knew what was going on. He was alerted to what was going on, certified letters sent directly to Robert Mueller, and yet nothing was done. And yet no charges were brought. It sounds like no investigation was actually done. These accusations went against Kevin Spacey, they went against Bill Clinton, and yet no investigation. No one looking into this. People put out these apologies. They come up with these PR games to say, oh, well, I'm actually this, I'm actually that. There's a new documentary that's coming out talking about the Hollywood pedophile ring that preyed on child actors linked to Bryan Singer and others. This huge documentary that came out all the way back in 2014. Michael Egan specifically was the one who talked about this. Robert Mueller didn't look into that. He'll look into charges on anyone connected to Trump. He'll look into but he won't watch Open Secret. He won't tell you what's going on there. Instead, when Robert Mueller was informed of this situation, he didn't even respond. He didn't even respond and did everything he could potentially to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. Well, we know it's a big deal, and we know that the truth is now finally coming out. The ties between what is going on here, Open Secret, Robert Mueller, Bryan Singer, Kevin Spacey, these accusations must be investigated. And I'm going to bring that up in the final segment here in hour 4 to explain how you at home can help to call for an investigation into the activities of Robert Mueller. Stick here, Jack Posobiec, hour 4 coming up, InfoWars. Jack Posobiec coming in live here, InfoWars, big 4th hour. I wanted to direct you guys, before we break down some of this stuff, I want to direct you guys, very importantly, go to InfoWarsStore.com. Support our efforts. Support our efforts to combat the fake news from CNN, combat our efforts, the fake news and misleading articles and tweets and everything else from fake news and Jake Tapper and all these places. Go and support the store. Go support what we're doing. Support our fight. There's so much you can do. You go over to InfoWarsStore.com. So many great products on there. That's why it's a win-win situation, because you can support the InfoWar and you can also support your own health. You can also support, and all these have all been checked. All of these products have been dug into, investigated by the mainstream media, by independent labs, by everyone under the sun, and they all agree that these all do the exact things that they claim they make, and actually are better than many other leading products on the market. That's why InfoWarsStore.com, you can trust it. You can go with these products. You can get them. There's so much on there. One thing, specifically put it in there. One last chance that Alex has given to buy Secret 12 at 40% off. They're almost at the very end. Almost at the end of the stock. I actually, when they sent me this, the file today, I said, guys, are we still doing the Secret 12? Are we still doing the sale on Secret 12? I thought that was 2 weeks ago. And they said, you know what, we've just got a little bit extra. So they extended it out. They're going to do a little bit more. It's just $23.97. So extend it out. It's only until the end of this week, I'm told, that they're going to be doing this. This contains so many other bioactive characteristics for people. It's got the vitamin B12, over 3,000 reviews, 97%. These are verified reviews, not the kind not the kind that people, when the trolls go on Amazon and put everything 1%. No, these are actual people who have purchased the product, who then responded to it and said 97% would recommend this to a friend. 4.8 rating of 3,000 reviews. When people try the Secret 12 with that vitamin B12 supplement, there are so many people that want to recommend it. There's so many people that enjoy it for their own health consciousness. It's going to be on sale just until the end of this week. So just going in past Halloween, going into the 1st of November, 40% off if you guys want that the vitamin B12. Get the super glue too while you're there. But check out that vitamin B12. There's so much good stuff. Now, with today's news cycle, with all that's been going on in Washington, D.C., these charges, and the left screaming Trump, 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 Trump. But you'll actually notice that none of the charges had anything to do with Donald Trump today. There's that sort of flyaway charge about George Papadopoulos where an arrest actually took place back in January, but the news was held till today to make it seem like there was some conflation, right? So this guy Papadopoulos was arrested in July, but the news was held today and then leaked to make it appear that there was a connection between himself and the charges being brought against Manafort today. Jake Tapper and CNN actually made a big mistake about this. Jake Tapper posted an image of Paul Manafort and said ex-Trump official pleads guilty today, when that actually wasn't the case. I called him out on it, and CNN went back so far as to actually change the article using old Pravda tactics of admitting that they intentionally misled people, because originally he put up an article about Manafort and said, this is Jake Tapper's on Twitter, but in screenshots last forever, folks. He said Manafort pled guilty, right? And that's what it looks like. And then CNN went back, because I called attention to it. They went back and changed it to a picture of Papadopoulos. He claims that he had no idea that that's what was going on. And Jake actually admitted that to the mistake himself. He admitted that it was misleading. I don't understand why he wouldn't take the tweet down. He actually had CNN go to the trouble of changing it because we called them out. We called them out on their fake news and their misinformation, their deliberate manipulation of these headlines that are being pushed out by Mueller. And keep in mind, this is what Mueller wanted. Mueller wanted you to think that it was Manafort that was pleading guilty, or that the Papadopoulos thing had anything to do with Paul Manafort. There has been no evidence whatsoever linking Papadopoulos to Manafort, no indication of emails or discussions between the two of them, but it doesn't matter because CNN is trying to connect them and make you think that it's connected. That's why the news was put out on the same day. So we've caught them being very sloppy and lazy with their manipulation of the news. We've caught them being very sloppy. I've got them to actually change what they'd written up. And it just goes to show you that this is the lengths that CNN and the establishment will go to conflate these things. So people they say to me all the time, they say, Jack, what can we do? What can I do? What can I do as a single person who loves his country, who wants to see his country succeed, who wants this place? I'm getting married on Sunday, folks. I'm getting married in literally 6 days. Girl of my dreams, we're getting married, and I want to live in a country where we're safe from this kind of crap. As a country that has safe and strong borders, we don't have to worry about terrorism, where we don't have to worry about unvetted immigrants coming in and refugees. I want my family to be raised in a country where I don't have to worry about these threats. The family that I'm starting this Sunday, back up in Philadelphia, where I'm from. And so that's why I agree that with Senator Chuck Grassley, and I agree with so many on the Senate Judiciary Committee, that we do need a prosecutor. We do need a special investigator for a special investigator for Robert Mueller, that his ties to the Uranium One deal need to be brought out. Was the dossier connected to the Uranium One stuff? That entire situation, the amount of money, the amount of corruption, the fact that it had to deal with U.S. national security assets in terms of our uranium, folks, uranium which is used, number one, to power the United States. We get about 1/5 of our energy from uranium. So the fact that we're selling off 20% of it to the Russians, just right there, it's in our strategic disinterests to do that. Why would we take something that was such a strong asset for us and sell it only to buy it back in terms of our own energy purposes. Doesn't that seem kind of stupid? Why would somebody do that if they had the United States' best interests at heart? Why would we sell it to a foreign power and then buy it back from them for our own energy? And secondly, of course, the obvious that uranium has much more impactful military capabilities to be used in a nuclear weapon. Russia, a country that does support rogue regimes. Now, we need to call our senators. We need to call our representatives. We need to let them know, and let them know immediately, that a special prosecutor into the Uranium One situation must, and I repeat this, must be appointed. Either that or Jeff Sessions himself needs to start an investigation. If Jeff Sessions can't do it, well, maybe we can find an attorney general who can, because this entire situation stinks to high heaven. It ties into Mueller. It ties into Rosenstein. It ties into Obama. It ties into Clinton. Honestly, it sounds like everybody was getting a piece off of this deal. Everyone was colluding on this deal other than Donald J. Trump, because this, as we know, folks, is how the swamp works. The swamp finds literal pieces of our country, actual land in the United States, and is selling it off to the highest bidder. The highest bidder in that at this point happened to be a man by the name of Vladimir Putin, the head of the Russian state. So that is why that is going to happen. I would also urge people to tweet. And if you use Twitter, go to the @WhiteHouse account and tweet at that account. Tweet to that account, because I have heard from my sources that that is an account that the highest levels of the White House get a report on every day. So the @WhiteHouse account, that's being looked at the highest levels of the White House, specifically the chief of staff level is taking an eye on this account. So if you want to use Twitter, if you're not using the phone call situation, tweet at the @WhiteHouse account, and I guarantee you that it will be seen by the highest levels of our government. It will be seen by the chief of staff. It will be seen by the administration, because they specifically look at this @WhiteHouse account. Not as many people pay attention to it because it isn't as prominent as the real Donald Trump account. But folks, that's why you listen to InfoWars, because we tell you the information that isn't out there in the mainstream media. We have the sources planted all throughout the US government, throughout the military. We have people, patriots, who come to us and tell us the truth about what's going on and aren't sure what to do about it, because we're fighting a corrupt state that has been in place, that has been pulling the wool over so many people's eyes. We saw that from the time of the JFK files that came out last week. We see that going on today. We see that going on with these charges. Stick around. Listen to War Room with Owen Schroyer. Jerome Corsi is coming back. I might pop on the War Room someday this week. I'm Jack Posobiec. I'm getting married in 6 days. Best time of my life. So happy to be here on InfoWars, hosting the 4th hour. Stick around. We've got Owen Schroyer coming right back. Don't miss what's coming on.
Before we even had civilization 6,000 years ago, humans communicated through the clothing that they wore, the society they were part of, what class they were from. And today we see the leftist, the globalist, controlling fashion, controlling culture through Hollywood and through their media systems. But more and more there is a rebellion against that system. Clothing is a statement, and it's essential to make that statement by wearing your colors loud and proud, just like I do when I'm out on the streets of America. So right now, folks, we're going to debut some new shirts and also some of the classics from the InfoWars store. This is one of our newest shirts. It's a limited edition. I'm calling it InfoWars in your face. It's a navy blue shirt, really high quality, feels great, fits great, with a big red Infowars.com right in the center, and on the shoulder, Infowars.com, and an American flag on a blue background. And remember, WikiLeaks shows that organizations like CNN are owned by foreign multinational corporations hell-bent on enslaving this country. So when you expose them as fake news, you're doing your patriotic duty, and you're exercising your First Amendment in defiance of their bullying, garbage, and tyranny. And on the back, Infowars.com is the standard of real news. And of course, this classic says it all. Need I say more? You want to have a political message out there? You want to state the facts of Americana and stand against the horrors we've seen in Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela? Then this is the shirt for you at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, if you want to be a little bit more low-key, this is a brand new shirt, hot off the press, of the same great fabric. That's InfoWars with an American flag. This is more stealth if you just want to basically reach out to other fellow travelers that are awake to the worldwide revolution against the globalist. And this shirt, The Spirit of 1776, is a great addition to do just that. At InfoWarsStore.com, we've got more than 15 versions of different Molon Labe in Latin or Come and Take It in good old-fashioned English t-shirts. And right here on the back, the good old Don't Tread on Me, Infowars.com to spread the word. I designed this baby. It's an AK-47 saying come and take it. And then the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment is the type that fills up the image of the firearm. This shirt is the second oldest shirt in our arsenal. It's been around about 19 years. It's the classic InfoWars Tyranny Response Team shirt. And of course, we've seen the NFL taking a knee during the national anthem to basically piss on the American flag. That's disrespectful. But when you fly the American flag upside down and explain under U.S. code that the country is under crisis, it's a symbol of respect for the nation and the flag to point out the country is in crisis. Our republic is in distress. Ask me why. This baby is a classic year-round. Good old camouflage with the day-glow orange hunting. Don't tread on me. InfoWars. Oh, and this is my birthday suit. Mama gave me this one, so I guess I better go ahead and put another shirt on. I call this the Patriot Rock and Roll shirt. I think the image tells you what it's all about. It's all about freedom. It's all about rugged individualism. Resist tyranny. Made in America, 1776. And I've been showing you the fronts of these great shirts. The backs are really cool. Look at that back. That is pure Americana. And I almost forgot. We've got dozens and dozens of great limited edition ball caps available. The Day Glow. Perfect. Now, when you're out jogging or out walking the dog down the road. And this is my favorite ball cap. Over 20 ball caps we put out. It's got the nice patch, Infowars.com. This, my friends, is the ball cap that I wear when I'm out and about in town. The crew absolutely loves it as well. Thank you all for your support, and check out the amazing Liberty apparel at InfoWarsStore.com.